Alright, so now I've slept. Now we're gonna continue watching. How many hours? 3? 4? What? 1, 2, 3 more hours. Yeah, that would have been too much for me. So it's good I went to bed, because I would have been dead. And I wouldn't be able to stream at all, because dying is not good. Okay, let's continue.
Oh, okay. We got a few more things.
Best freaking panel. Holy shit.
Okay, I guess we're live. Welcome everyone to the ARPG Roundtable. This is a real star-studded lineup we have for you guys.
Insane.
It is one that you can participate in. We have a code on the screen if you want to submit some questions. That's been the case for a lot of the other roundtables and events, as you know. Hopefully you know how to use it by now. This is a really amazing lineup. We only have about an hour, so I want to apologize ahead of time if I have to cut anyone off. Ideally, we'd want this around 10 hours, but, you know, we couldn't today. Let's just do a quick round of introductions, but I do want to remind you guys, these are the real juggernauts of the ARPG scene. If you have enjoyed an ARPG game, most likely they have made it, or they have heavily influenced it. So I'm Crip, and we can go around. Perhaps with David, maybe you want to introduce yourself and talk about either a project you are working on or have enjoyed working on.
Yeah, my name's David Brevik, and I've been making games for 30-something years now. Long time. Made all sorts of ARPGs, Diablo 2.
Yeah, small games.
We made Hellgate London. And I've consulted on a million other projects and done a bunch of other things. Right now I have about 47 jobs, so I'm doing consulting for a VC to have my own publishing company, to have my own indie game company, to all sorts of things. So that's me in a nutshell.
There's going to be some repetition because we all started together way back in the day. But yeah, my name's Max Schaefer, and I've also been making ARPGs from the get-go, the Diablos, Hellgate London, and then we teamed up with Travis to make the Torchlight series. And currently I am making an unannounced game as VP of Games at Zynga, and it will not be a mobile game. So.
Zynga.
Well, it will be mobile. It'll be mobile and cross-platform.
I'm Eric Schaefer, Max's brother. I made with these guys and these guys Diablo 1, Diablo 2, Hellgate London, Torchlight 1, Torchlight 2, Rebel Galaxy, and Rebel Galaxy Outlaw. I think those are the highlights of my career. Retired for a little bit, but then I'm dragged back in. I've got a new indie studio called Moonbeast. You guys can look it up, moonbeast.com, though we have nothing interesting to say yet, so. Just had to get a little pitch out there. Sorry, Chris.
I'm Travis Baldry. The first ARPG I made was Fate, which people tell me they played on their parents' laptops, and then I feel really old. After that, I went to work with everyone here when they were at Flagship, and I was the lead on a little project called Mythos, which was another action RPG, which has now disappeared into the ether. And then afterward, when we started Runic, we made Torchlight 1 and 2. Eric and I then moved on to make the Rebel Galaxy games, as he mentioned, and now I've effectively retired from games, and I narrate audiobooks and write novels,
Ah.
because I guess I'm just a flip-flopper.
Hi, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding. My first game was Path of Exile, and I'd like to say my 41st game was a Path of Exile expansion by now. But yeah, it's been entirely that franchise for my entire career.
I'm Eric Olofsson. I used to work for 15 years on this little game called Path of Exile, and a year and a half I ventured out on my own to make a physical card game called Sorcery Contested Round. So, new very small studio there.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to kick it off with some questions here. I want you guys to feel free to maybe add in or, develop a conversation. I'm sure everyone would love to hear your different perspectives on things. So the first question that I thought was really interesting from the audience.
Sad,
How do you
but
feel
good for
about
him.
the current trend of having every attack be telegraphed by red marks on the ground? Oh, Max,
We
you
were
seem
just fighting
passionate
over
about
this
that.
the other week.
Exactly. We've been fighting about this. I don't like it. I'd like to have the tell be the animation and the action and not some large piece of geometry on the ground. Sometimes you have to do it, and it should be subtle. I don't generally like it, though. I think it's a bad trend.
What do you think, David?
I disagree because I'm a systems person, but I kind of understand it. So we've, I think that I think that making it a little bit less visible is acceptable.
We've literally had this argument in the last month, repeatedly.
I've never used it myself, but it's a valid tool. I like it in some games.
I like the intuitive feeling of distances and feeling like I've gotten a handle on things.
Yeah.
And having that innate knowledge without a helper, if I can get it.
Yeah, we've tried really
Yeah,
hard
the
on
best
Path of Exile
answer
to
is
have things be
probably,
visible on the screen
it
as a real
depends.
scene.
It's
Like, we
probably
don't
the
do
answer.
numbers and that kind of stuff because we want you to actually feel the visceralness of combat. And telegraphing is a lot like that, where while I don't work on fights that have telegraphed the text myself because I do items and stuff, my understanding is the team will telegraph through animation before they telegraph through effects where possible.
I would say that it's best to avoid it as much as possible and as long as possible. And that's a way to teach the players about dangerous attacks coming. So say in a level you can have small monsters do an attack that's similar compared to the boss attack that is. So you can kind of teach the player earlier about it, and that's kind of the good way of doing it, but it's also a very slow way that requires a lot of planning, so it is kind of understandable that you would use the red mark sometimes.
And don't do red is kind of my thing. Like, you can see things that are telegraphed, and it could be a subtle, in-universe color. Yeah.
Now, everyone here has a lot of experience with the ARPGs in general. A lot of the questions we're getting have to do with what started it. Why is it that you have all tried to perfect the ARPG genre in your own different ways? How did it start?
Started from playing a lot of game. Oh boy, this is really going to date me.
How much time do we have?
No, maybe it was high school, early college, I started playing a game called Rogue, where the term roguelike comes from. And then moved on to some other versions. People made similar kind of games, Moria, Umoria, Angband, NetHack, things like that, which were ASCII games where you were like the @ symbol attacking the letter K, and they had random levels and random items and stuff like that, and you leveled up, and I played that to death. And then so when we got together and we made our own studio, then we want to kind of take that gameplay that I had played for so long and kind of update it, make it a real, put graphics on it, make it kind of pop, and so that, but still keep a lot of the core, which was the random levels and the random items and all the different monsters that can show up and stuff like that. And so that's really, I think, where it mainly comes from.
Yeah, and I think for some of us, we were kids playing Dungeons and Dragons with, some level of ADHD where we just wanted to get to the killing, And at the time, computer RPGs tended to be kind of story heavy and stat heavy, and you'd roll your characters, and it would be an hour before you got to kill your first skeleton. And we thought, you know what, we should be killing a skeleton within a minute or two, you know. And so that was kind of one of our goals too, is just get to the action. You know, there's plenty of time for storytelling, but you don't have to front load it so much. And then I think, Eric, you can talk about how we got the camera angle and the way we look at an ARPG.
I'm going to skip that. I don't have to listen to my brother's question.
This is what I live with.
For me, why I just keep making the same game in a sense is, for me, when we killed our first skeleton and the first shield or whatever popped out, all I can ever do is just iterate on that. I just think, okay, let's kill the next monster, let's get the next piece of loot, and my mind is just kind of hardwired to constantly follow that pattern, and I just find it enjoyable to do and enjoyable to play. So that's my ARPG story.
I think my first, as close to an ARPG as I could get, apart from NetHack, was Telengard on the C64. Avalon Hill put it out, and it had an infinite, randomly generated, deterministic dungeon. So it was the same every single time, but it went on forever. And this was running on a real piece of crap. And I was just kind of amazed by it. And it also just had a very weird sense of humor. Like you would come across an elf and it would say, the elf likes your body and gives you a sword +1. It was, I still have incredibly fond memories of this game. I remade this game, I liked it so much. And then later on, when I encountered Diablo 1, you know, I was hooked.
Yep, it started with Diablo, and thank you guys, by the way, for that. Seriously. Yeah, that needs applause. I played Diablo 1 obsessively until Diablo 2 was announced, and then I remember getting in trouble at high school for watching Diablo 2 trailers on the school computers where I wasn't supposed to be at lunchtime, and I tried to get the teacher who was throwing me out interested in it, but no, he wanted me to get out of there. And so, yeah, when Diablo 2 was released, I played it obsessively for a very long time. My friends will understand the degree of that obsession, and I took the game apart to learn exactly how it works, and approached Eric, who I met playing it, and Jonathan, who I knew from school, and said, we need to make a game like this. It's perfect, and you know, there's no sequel on the horizon, and there's millions and millions of players out there who want something just like this, and let's try to understand its essence as best we can, and you know, do our best service to the genre, and try to make some kind of spiritual successor. So it all started with your product.
And thank you, by the way, for taking up the mantle so we can go on to other things.
Yeah, I think Eric said most of it. It's just
Yeah, thank you for taking up the mantle of making the best action RPG game to take the pressure off our shoulders. Because otherwise, they would probably have that pressure to make, like, you need to make like the spiritual successor of Diablo, and it needs to be perfect. Grinding gear games have already done that, so that's nice.
There's something special about clicking a monster, an item pops out, and you equip that, so you can click a slightly harder monster, and then everything sort of just goes from there. And there's something with the UI as well, where you just have the top-down camera, and everything is kind of simple and viewable, and just cut straight to the addiction, I guess.
Well, once the monsters die and they drop their shields, the next step becomes, well, maybe trading it. We have a few questions about that, and I kind of wanted to tie in what I was still thinking. What do you guys think about gold and or trading in ARPGs?
Well, I like trading. I think Chris and I have a little different views on this. We've talked about this quite a bit. I think that the easier it is to trade the item, the more you need something that restricts trading.
Ja, du får gå till mamma då. Om hon inte kan får jag komma.
So you can make that some sort of binding system, or the item can only be traded a few times, or whatever system you want, but the easier you make that, then the game loses a little bit about what it's about. So if you can get everything by just trading, then you lose kind of the point of the moment-to-moment combat. So it's important to have trading, I think, but if you make trading difficult, then it doesn't happen as often and kind of is reserved for the players that are already really deeply into the game and can then use that trading, and they're getting enjoyment out of it in many other ways. So I think that I like trading, but you have to be really careful with it because it is kind of the opposite of the whole point of playing the game. Yeah. As for gold, I think gold is important, but oftentimes people don't find uses for gold. So as long as you keep gold as an active resource that you can use, I think that I like picking it up.
Yeah. Now my feeling on trading is that like these are co-op games for the most part, and you're there with your friends playing, and you should pretty much be able to trade unbridled with them. But when you have a huge community of hundreds of thousands or millions of gamers even, and you have some sort of global marketplace for it, you get item gluts and it devalues it, and you lose the experience, like you're saying, of the accomplishment of killing bosses and stuff. So yeah, with your friends, trade away. But once you have like an auction house, say, it can degenerate.
Yeah, I like collectability is a lot of fun. That's part of the loot game, and I love loot. So I think and the collectability is enhanced by trading. It's not that cool just to have your own stuff. You want to be able to send it back and forth. But I think that a lot of people would agree that like the Diablo 3 auction house sort of destroyed half the fun of the game when it becomes that's your way to get to your loot. That's not the fun way to get to loot. The fun way to get to loot is through the random rolls out there in the field. So I'm mixed on it.
I don't know if anybody will like my answer. I really don't like trading at all. I like action RPGs as just part of the joy of the randomization is just dealing with whatever the hell you were dealt. Yep. What are the monsters? What is the layout? And what's the items that I get? And then just making the best of it. I love that sort of like that essential essence to it. As far as gold goes, even if it's not relevant, I just like the ongoing dopamine hit of picking up gold. It's like Pac-Man eating pellets in a maze. I don't know, I just like it. It's like clearing the fog of war, too. It speaks to me at a deep level.
Yeah, picking up money, you would never get sick of picking up money.
I'm never tired of picking up money.
Well, you know our views on trading, of course. You've read the manifesto, and you've heard all of the explanation for why we're experimenting with gold and Path of Exile too. But I'll touch on a subject here where we deeply feel that trade is critical from the point of view of being able to have an item where you say, this is mine, and it's valuable, and you want it, and I could give it to you, but I'm not going to, because I could absolutely hand it over, but it's mine, and you have to give me something of value. We want that feeling of the thing you've got could be tradable. And to touch on what Travis said, there is something special about playing a game on your own merit, the solo self-found approach, and that's why, and I personally prefer playing solo self-found than playing with trade, but I would never make Path of Exile an entirely solo self-found game. And that's why the way we structured it is if you opt into solo self-found mode, you can opt out yourself or some of your items. So you can play and see how far you can get by yourself, and then when you find a mirror, you're like, time to trade, and then cut out your whole character. So we've got that compromise there where you can play without trade, but the game does have trade.
Yeah, I'll just add a small thematic point about gold, where it's obviously good to have gold in the game because everyone knows what gold means. Like it's something you want more of, and it's like all this history and everything attached to it. So it's perfect like that. You just need to make sure it's actually a little hard to get and you don't get too much of it.
So part of trading just happens to get the high quality. And one of the questions we have has to do with how do you balance quantity versus quality, where they point out that both extremes seem pretty poor, but how do you land in the middle, and where should you?
I think that for me, if quantity at some level becomes useless, like meaningless, and so if you have a lot of quantity, you're going to end up in a situation where you're just like leaving things on the ground all the time.
Oh.
And you start to, lose hope. Because as the things drop and it's yet another, whatever low level, just green or white or whatever your kind of lowest tiers are, it's just like, okay, that's not really helping me anymore. And then, and then you're just praying for that orange. I would rather get something where it's like dropping less often and having higher quality. Dropping less items and having higher quality ones show up every now and then than the other way around. Just a litter of items that are meaningless. So there is a delicate balance there, because you also have to assume that people, especially at the beginning, that they don't have a lot of items and stuff like that. So, and then there may be systems that make it so that those items, the white ones or the green ones or the low level ones, that there's ways to craft them up or do things with them. And then they start to have some value. So it all depends on your systems and how it works. But overall, I prefer to keep the kind of item stuff down, even though that's opposite of what I did in Marvel Heroes, which was loot pinatas.
Or Diablo 2.
Yeah, which is like all sorts of showers of items. But yeah, that was so I think that keeping it down is kind of more my modern thinking.
I kind of disagree. I kind of
Nice.
I think it's really tricky. It's a delicate balance. There can be too much stuff, but we tried at times toning down and Diablo 2 even. Let's stop dropping the whites and the grays and stuff.
Yeah.
Or even, toning it back might be appropriate. But when you don't drop them at all, and all you're dropping is the greens or the blues or the yellows, it doesn't really make any sense. Why not?
Får jag nog ta och stänga dörren nu en stund. Så att det blir... Jag kom så här, öppna dörren. Det blir... Jag dör ju här inne. Så varmt. All right. Back to it.
And make them just all one color.
Yeah,
If
make
you're
the white ones better.
Yeah, just make the white ones better if you're not going to have the different tiers. And so it kind of, the higher tiers lose their meaning if you're not dropping the lower tiers. I think with Torchlight, I did some pretty good work of making the mid-level magic stuff still appropriate. I kind of hope, I'm still working on it and I don't have a plan yet, but I'm hoping that we can make the low-level stuff still relevant as more than just trash items for sale or for breaking down. But I don't know. I think it's just tricky, and you just got to kind of play with it in the game to see where you find a good balance.
It's hard to give a precise answer on this because it's really, really very feel-based. You just actually have to play the game and feel how it feels. Do things feel relevant or not? Do I have enough garbage so that there's proper contrast with the interesting stuff? Otherwise, I don't know. It's so feel-based.
Yeah, because if you make it like some mechanic where you take all the white items and get a crafting resource out of them by breaking them down, it can become kind of a chore then. Like it's like, oh god, I got
pets.
Huh? But yeah, like I agree with you though. It's individual per game, and you just got to go with what feels good. And there's no perfect answer. I feel like we have a tradition now of leaving the white items on the ground after a little while. So sure. Yeah.
There's an aspect of Diablo 2's itemization that I had missed when we initially did Path of Exile. And this is partly because we were trying to streamline things that we felt were unnecessary, which in almost all cases was a mistake. And it's related to when you actually look at the items that drop. Okay, for a start, a bunch of what you get on the ground is gold, right? We thought unnecessary, don't need that. And then you got potions, and we thought, aha, don't need those either. We've got flask charges, so that's all that gone as well. But they've also got ammo, like bolts and arrows. And we said, nah, just unlimited ammo. Who wants to go and buy more of these, right? So far we've eliminated like 40% of actual item drops by accident. Then you've got other stuff. Like you've got fulminating gas potions and exploding things and things you can throw and random spears and stuff that have quantity on them. And there's all this stuff, like literally exploding potions, which you're never seriously going to use, but they do represent some non-zero percentage of drops. And then you've got gems, for example, which are relatively common and get consumed in the hierarchy of stuff there. And you get to the point where when you include gold drops and stuff, like 60% of the items that hit the ground are not ones that you would actually classify as equipment. And we literally got rid of all of that. And so that means in order for Path of Exile to then feel like you're actually finding stuff in the regular non-ruthless mode, it kind of has to all be equipment. And I wish we had realized this from the start, because now we're facing the problem where players are trained that unless the screen is full of, you know, an armory dropped on the ground for every group of monsters, that it's not enough items. So this isn't on the quantity versus quality spectrum. You kind of know our views on that, but it is an observation where I wish we had paid more attention to that rather than saying, we can do better.
Yeah, it's a tricky conundrum that in the beginning of the game, you want to have very simple items that obviously become trash later on, but there's also part of the player progression to say that, okay, well, my character is a lot better now, and I don't care about these bad items. Like, that's a sign that you became better. So that's something that you want to keep, but then of course, when you play the same game for 8 years, then you might not care about that initial sort of character development part of the first few hours. So then you have to introduce complicated solutions to solve that.
I guess it never bugged me to leave a bunch of stuff there, so I was probably responsible for the fields of junk more than almost anybody. I remember Blizzard South guys at the time, Alan Adam in particular, who was the head up down there, was like, he has to physically bring every item back to town and sell it for for whatever he can get. And so he was always like pretty pissed at me. I was like, we gotta drop less stuff. It's just no fun to just walk out of town and walk right back in and sell the junk. And so it was a philosophical problem. I kind of figure it worked out in the long run, so I don't worry too much about it.
But it's all interrelated with other systems like the size of your inventory and stuff, you know.
Yeah, it's a tough little mix there. Systems.
Yeah, that's certainly a difficult one to balance. We have a question, a different kind of balance. How do you find a balance between action and storytelling? And perhaps we can start with Travis, and you can inspire some thoughts in what at least I think, because I just skip all the dialogue. So
I'm a dialogue skipper, and on the development, Fate had, the story was 1 page of text, which I got somebody to read. And then in Torchlight and Torchlight 2, I was always like, man, we got to cut this dialogue down. You guys in your lore, just set it to the side. I just want to be beating the crap out of things. Now I write books, and I don't really know how to reconcile those two things because it doesn't make any sense at all. But I was always very much that you can't require me to read the lore to play. And I talked to some designers who also did tabletop. And they're always trying to make you read like the micro fiction in order to consume the data that you're trying to get out of the rule book. And there's always that pushback, like, I don't want to read the micro fiction, just tell me what the number is. And that's where I fall on the spectrum.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember we cut down our dialogues in the Diablos, and eventually at one point we were like, just bold the important words.
Make them yellow text. I was notorious for yellow text. Everybody always gave me crap about yellow text because I just wanted to highlight all the important nouns so you could ignore everything that the writer had written.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm a dialogue skipper, except for the passages in Diablo 1, like the Sin War, where like you just have to like listen to it and that epic voice acting. It was so good. Was that Bill Rover? I can't remember.
Yeah, Roper did some. I suspect it was mostly the Blizzard film department guys coming up with the actual that. But I think it was very sparing in Diablo 1. We never hit you over the head. There was just a few incidents of it, so that was what made it bearable.
And it was nice. It was a break. You know, the cinematics were a break from the action and gives you a sense of progressing on to the next thing. Yeah, so I like those. I just don't like it while I'm playing. You know, I don't want to get up to a boss and have him start into a long monologue, you know, before I have to kill him. Just let me kill him. Yeah.
But just development-wise, too, we made the Diablos and the Torchlights with almost no story at all. The story was kind of added in later. So the world building, the lore, that was deliberate, kind of the back stuff. But the story and the text were really not part of the development at all. So I often don't know what the hell's going on in my own games. People ask me questions, and I'm like,
all about the
no
vibes.
idea.
It's about the vibes.
Yeah, vibes, not text. How about?
I'm interested in Eric's perspective here.
Oh, well, when it comes to dialogue specifically, we actually discussed this a little bit backstage early on, so I guess it's important to all of us here. But it's more is not necessarily better, and it's a lot about condensing it down, because everyone wants to get back to clicking the monsters to see what pops out of them. So it's kind of about trying to get as much as possible into something as short as possible, and then even working with things like the tone of voice of the NPC and like what type of greeting words they make, and try to get as much as possible out of those small things.
And, to some extent, you're the story. Your path through it and the things you do and the items you find and the build you make, that's the story,
Yeah, you don't want to write it too much for the player.
Right.
So it should be in their head.
We have over time cultivated an audience of players that want as much deep depth and stuff to discover in the dialogue, and will play to seek out the Easter eggs and find it. And we make sure that in addition to making sure the dialogue is as skippable as possible for like 70% of players, we have lots of stuff for the other 30%. And so we try to give our dialogue team the resources they need.
And you can do storytelling with the environment that you're passing through and the things that you see and stuff. It doesn't have to be a dialogue that plays out really slowly when you're trying to get back to clicking. I played some Diablo 4 and said, I'm going to just watch all of this cinematics and listen to all the dialogue just to see what kind of storytelling they do. And again, I really enjoyed playing it, but I was about 10 minutes before I was just escaping through the...
Yep.
I used to always think about adding a sum it up for me button when people were doing dialogue, and then they would just interrupt and say, okay, let me just sum this up. And then I would get the digest in character. It's perfect.
Well, I maybe will kind of transition here with an answer of my own. One of my favorite parts of dialogue is when the boss is talking to me. I think my favorite bit of dialogue is the first time I opened the seals in Diablo 2 and Chaos Sanctuary, and Diablo tells me that not even death will save you from me. That's the dialogue I like.
Yeah.
And with that in mind...
Quick and to the point, though.
Yeah. With that in mind, why don't we just go around and you guys can maybe talk about your favorite boss in any ARPG with the consideration of dialogue as well.
I'll give a quick start here.
Sure.
Because it kind of inspired my own thing, inspired myself, and that was the butcher in Diablo 1.
Damn it.
It just, I wanted to get
What everybody was going to say.
I'm grabbing it. But and again, the real short dialogue, just the fresh meat, he says, or something. He's coming after you.
That was great storytelling.
That was good storytelling. But it set a tone. It set a tone of scariness that bad things are going to happen here. So that it inspired me to because there was no such thing as an ARPG boss. He was sort of the first ARPG boss, I guess. So got to develop bosses from there. I almost think we almost never hit the high of that.
No, you can't. You can never remake a butcher encounter that had the same emotional impact, and we have tried many times, and it's just hopeless.
We tried really hard in Path of Exile, of course, to do it with Brutus.
Right. Well, it's funny too, though, is because now you almost can't really do a boss that kills you that bad that early in a game anymore, because people there'd be an outcry against it. I think we luckily got him in before people had expectations.
Challenge accepted.
I remember just recently I went, God, it wasn't recently now. How long ago did I give that 20th anniversary Diablo speech? That was at GDC. Whenever that was, I got the CD. We had a CD demo of Diablo 1 that we sent out that was like part of PC Gamer magazine or something like that. And I got the demo running, which is not a very easy thing to do anymore because it was so old and stuff. But I had it's randomly generated, so like I go down the steps, and the very first room I encountered was the butcher. I opened up the door, he came out, whack, whack, I was dead. I was like, oh my God, is this somebody's first experience playing an ARPG? They walk down the steps and open the door, and there's the butcher.
I'm going to take a different approach, a boss that's not good for its storytelling or immersion necessarily, but I'm going to pick Pendleskin because it's like an level 86 treasure class. It's like 40-second run cycle from town, so anyway.
All right, I'm going to bring up Telengard again because it was in the early days, they really did not have like level bands set up for the creatures that could show up in the dungeon. So you could start Telengard, walk 1 square away from the entryway, and a level 30 dragon could appear and breathe fire on you. And that was like, and you immediately died. And there is no save, you just restart, you re-roll, and that's it. And that's your first experience playing the game, is dying in the very first move. And yeah, that reminded me somewhat of the Butcher.
Out butcher the butcher.
Well, when it comes to boss and getting their loot, an interesting part of it is the Magic Find attribute that's showed up, I would say, quite successfully in most of the games that you have made. What is your take on Magic Find as a stat or an attribute in an ARPG?
I loved it just as a bit of a counterbalance, kind of a, well, I'm going to take the Magic Find, but it's a trade-off from important stats and other things. It was simpler back when I was playing with that in the Diablo 2 days. I know you guys are working with that, do all kind. There's I don't know. That's all I have to say, I guess.
Yeah. 100%, that's how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, it's an affix usually, so it comes at the expense of something else. So it's a trade-off.
I mean, it seems it's great for late game play when you've kind of done the game a bunch of times, and hey, let me take it. It's a little more of a challenge, but a little better loot. It seems to be a great thing for people to keep playing the game forever.
Yeah. When you're down to hunting items in a game, it really feels like a fun one to get.
Yeah, I just really liked Magic Find back in the Diablo 2 days because you made a trade-off between absolute killing speed and sort of toughness with Magic Find, and then with the goal, of course, being to get as much wealth as possible at the speediest speed.
One of the things I liked about it, too, is you really just have to take it on faith, because I don't know how many people are writing down their drops and seeing, did I really get a 3% increase in Magic Find?
How well is this really working?
Yeah.
Absolutely, I made a database for Diablo 2 to make sure that it was working. Those diminishing returns calculations, which are well documented, formed the basis of Path of Exile's diminishing returns calculations for Magic Find. And they are important because your absolute character power has many axes before they diminish, whereas Magic Find diminishes with just one value. So you do have to make sure you manage the math with that, and there are trade-offs.
Right.
All right. A different angle on this one. So what is the smallest addition or change that you have made to a game that gave you the most amount of joy? Maybe you can start this one, David.
Jeez. Changing Diablo from turn-based to real-time.
Everyone knew the answer. Bad question.
So I have a good example of that. It was in the Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction expansion. Like at the very last moment, we said, hey, you know what would be cool? Throw a couple of, we had hirelings, but just throw a couple soldiers out there fighting the monsters before you get out there. And it just felt so cool to go out and see, like, hey, I'm not alone out here fighting. You know, because a lot of times, like, what is everyone else doing? You know? And it, like, you know, finally it was a sense, okay, there actually are some other people out here helping out the cause. You know?
Right. They still don't give you a break in the store, though. Yeah, you're saving us, but I'm going to thank you for this weapon.
I don't think it's not that little a change, but I think Dave's brother Pete back in the day suggested the socketable item.
Yeah.
Let's put a gem into an item. And that kind of, you know, that expanded things in a big way. I mean, went a lot of systems on top of that, but I think that was the first great little brainstorm.
Right.
For me, it's probably a toss-up between letting you send your pack animal back to town to sell all your shit and adding a fishing mini game.
I was going to joke fishing as well, but in Fate, that was not actually a joke. There is a mature fishing game that's actually very cool. My smallest change that I think we made that brought me personally the most joy was the hardcore death notifications in global chat. And the story behind that is a user during the closed beta said, "Hello, I will purchase the $250 gold supporter pack if you add this feature." And we were desperate enough for money that I said to Jonathan, "Hello, how many hours will it take for you to get this deployed? Like, is it plus EV?" And he said, "Absolutely, it's 10 minutes." And so we made $250 for 10 minutes work.
Yeah, the one change that popped up into my head for, I'm not really sure why really, but this was super early on in Path of Exile, where we discovered that the ratio between rare items and magic items was completely off, way different than in the Diablo games. And then we fixed it, and then it just felt so much better playing afterwards.
That's awesome, thank you. How do you feel about community tools? Should the game be moddable, or should the game just give you everything you need? I would maybe add on to that, at least hopefully some website guide support into the mix.
I like being able to create mods. I think that builds a stronger game and long-term commitment to a community and to the game. But it's pretty difficult in a game that is kind of a live game. They've done it in World of Warcraft, and there are other games that have examples of this. Hopefully, the game does deliver all that you need. But sometimes it doesn't, and so it's nice when the community can do something like that. It's just kind of, you have to be real careful about what you expose through those tools and what information they can garner, because you're going to end up in a situation where people get big advantages from using particular mods and stuff, and then you kind of get, I don't know, a community that can have some toxicity with, hey, you aren't using this mod, then you're not elite, and all these kind of things. So there's definitely a balance you have to reach.
I mean, the big balance is between secure items and characters, and mods make that pretty hard. I mean, there's a limited amount of mods that don't ruin the security of the items and characters. So
Yeah, it's sort of inversely proportional to how important it is that everyone's on a level playing field.
Yeah. So I like mods, and the current game I'm making is very moddable, but that's kind of almost experimentally super moddable. So right now I'm leaning into it, but I can see it both ways.
But purely selfishly, I love modability because I spent so much time tearing apart other games and using other mod kits and seeing how things worked, and that was just like a real source of joy for me. So when we made Torchlight and Torchlight 2, we released all the mod tools, and it was definitely complicated for Torchlight 2, and it's nowhere near the complexity, and it doesn't have to deal with the issues that you're bringing up about long-term balance on a game that's a live service. Torchlight 2 was multiplayer, but it was just peer-to-peer, and we knew going in that that was just going to be one of the limitations. And, but again, purely selfishly, I love to tear things apart.
I love the idea of moddable action RPGs. Like, I would love to make a single-player, very moddable one. I don't know if the business proposition is as easy as the live service one. We have to deal daily with customers that are upset because they lost their items due to various things involving third-party programs, right? Like, if the modding ecosystem for online games means that to have the best gameplay experience, you've got to install stuff, which could potentially steal your credentials, and people fork these and insert bad software, and it's really sad when we have to tell users, we're really sorry, we can't do anything, that was your fault for installing the virus. And so we would rather that the modding ecosystem didn't involve people pasting their PHP session IDs into arbitrary websites or downloading executables they run on their work computers and stuff, but you know, gamers want every advantage they can get.
I'm a huge fan of modding, as most game developers probably are. And one point here is that when we got a job application at GGG, and they have, like, you look at modding experience before, like, academic credentials, basically. So get into modding, I guess, if you want to get into the games industry.
That's probably great advice. How do you deal with every character being the one true hero in a multiplayer scenario?
You don't.
Suspension of disbelief.
Kind of an example of that, not exactly, but we ran into an issue with, in the end of Diablo 1, you jam this gem into your head, right? And you're...
Spoiler alert.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Best moment in gaming.
And it's a long story, I won't get into it, but that was sort of thrust upon us by the Blizzard film department in the day, who sent us the movie, if that's how your game ends. And we didn't really have enough time to change it. And we grew to love it, actually, but at first we were kind of shocked. Wait, that's not... But in any case, what I was getting to is, when we were started Diablo 2, for some reason, the Blizzard South guys thought that everybody should start the game with a gem in their head, like you were continuing from Diablo 1. So that's like, it doesn't even make any sense. Like, everybody you run across was the guy that killed Diablo, so that's exactly the kind of problem you're bringing up. So like Dave says, we just ignored it and just moved on.
Yeah, there's only one universe, and that's the one that you're playing. Right?
That Soulstone moment, though, at the end of Diablo 1 was the point when I realized that media can have a twist at the end. Like, it was impactful.
Oh, yeah. We loved it in the end.
Yeah.
All right. If you had to play one game for your entire life, what would it be? And to specify...
Easy question.
...a specific league or patch cycle in it.
I mean, for me, it's not an ARPG at all. I play Civ 6 just relentlessly. So I'm happy with it as is. I would just go with that for the rest of my life, and I'd be okay.
For me, it would be Minecraft. Honestly,
Oh.
I just make myself a nice little
Nice.
castle and look at the
Good
sunset.
answer.
I actually think Minecraft is a Diablo game. We've got random areas, we've got random items, we've got pretty good combat, we have relatively secure server-side stuff within a community. I mean, what really is it missing, right? And it's moddable and, you know, possibly the best game ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Max stole my answer.
Sorry.
No, I can't say Minecraft.
It's ridiculously hard.
We can all say Minecraft.
Okay, let's go start a Minecraft server.
Who's in? That or Words with Friends. I can play Scrabble forever.
Robotron. Robotron, that's my answer.
Robotron?
Robotron.
All
yes.
right.
Nice.
Interesting.
Yeah, I would probably play Diablo 2. I wonder if it's 1.11 or something, before Whirlwind got nerfed.
Oh. Ice Blink Whirlwind with a lance.
Yes. Exactly. You know the build. Yeah.
I do. So one of the game genres that has been coming up, it's kind of the Survivor series. We've got a lot of questions from you guys about your thoughts on Vampire Survivor genre. There's a number of games.
Bullet
I don't know which one
hell
defines it, but these games
looking.
have similar elements to an ARPG,
Yeah.
but they're not quite exactly like it. What do you think?
David made a blend between Diablo and
And a survival game, yeah. I made a game called It Lurks Below. It's on Steam.
Oh, yeah.
It's fun. Made it by myself. But I think that Vampire Survivors, though, is like, you know, all the things are coming at you from all over, and you level up your character really quickly. And so I do really like that game a lot. I played quite a few hours of it. And it does share a lot of things, but it reminds me more almost of like a card game, because when you know, in like a card battler, when you defeat a monster, it's like, hey, here's your choice of, well, it reminds me a little of the card game we're playing here at the show, where here's your 2 choices, your 3 choices of things that you can do that one thing. And so it's a little bit different than the ARPG kind of Diablo-style ARPG, where you're killing stuff and picking up loot and making choices like that. It's just too fast, oftentimes, in the Vampire Survivor stuff. There's some differences. I'm sure that somebody's going to try and combine them in a more meaningful way, but I do really enjoy that genre, and I had a lot of fun playing.
I've never played it, but I got addicted to watching Asmongold play both Vampire Survivors and Halls of Torment to the point where I will, before going to work, refresh his channel, hoping there is another video in either game. And it could be the reason why I'm half an hour late to work that day, because I'll watch it on 2 times speed. It's addictive.
A lot of my gaming experience these days is through streamers. The same thing.
All right, we have an awesome question here. How does playing your own game feel when compared to games you had no hand in?
Oh, good question.
We can mention anything. I mean, maybe Eric, you want to start with even your card game.
How it is to feel to play other games, it's, as a game developer, you unfortunately get a bit destroyed where you start to look at how they implemented things, and like, you never quite get that sort of naive thing where, like when you grew up and played games and you got the kind of super strong experience, but it's more of a sort of scientific effort almost when you play other games now, unfortunately.
Do you get that feeling?
How does it feel to play your
when
own
I
as
play
a
my
contrast?
own game? Well, then it's just that tuned to 11 because you start to look at what things you can improve, and
Right.
it just
That's my thing. I can't, when I play my own games, it's all looking at the flaws, finding bugs, and hope, and I can relax when it's someone else's game, and I can be a lot more forgiving. I don't care if there's a little flaw in it, if it's someone else did it. But yeah, it makes it hard to enjoy games that we've made.
Yeah, I don't like any of the games I've made.
Oh, come on. You're being too hard on yourself.
No, I'm dead serious. I can't even play a lot of the games that I made anymore. It's very rare that I can. But so oftentimes I'm just too critical. And like, as soon as I'm done playing it, I often go, okay, here's my list of 7 things I gotta fix or whatever, rather than really, just doing it just for fun.
Yeah, there's that reflexive list creation. When I play other games, I still start to do it immediately, and then I have to stop myself. It's like, okay, I got to do this, I got to do this, oh wait, no, this isn't my game. I don't have to do anything. It's great.
Well, I'm going to circle back to a few more game mechanics because I have a question here I didn't want to miss. Aside from killing monsters, what is your favorite way to award a player power in a game?
I mean, you got to look like a badass after you've leveled up a long way, And so, like, figuring out costumes that are unique and interesting and make you look more powerful is I remember times playing Diablo 2 and finding a cool helmet with horns coming out, and it made me look so different, and it was almost as fun as actually finishing a level or killing a boss, as getting a cool looking helmet.
New skills or skill evolutions that are tactily more satisfying than what you had before. This is just immediately the act of doing what you've already been doing just feels better.
I think there's something cool about having meaningful rewards for side quests, because when you're playing through the game, a power gamer wants to ignore the side quests and come back where relevant. But having the distraction of, if I go and actually, smash the soulstone in the Hellforge, I'm going to get a pile of gems that could be useful, and have to do that math as to whether you want to do that is really cool. And I believe the Path of Exile 2 team have been working hard on having quite a lot of significant attribute bonuses on side quests, rather than some skill refund points or something you're not going to need necessarily.
All right, well, our time is just about running out, but I wanted to wrap up with maybe a question you might think about, or maybe whimsically perhaps. Why don't you guys come up together and make the ultimate game?
It's a hell of a group. I think we could do it if the personalities didn't clash too much.
Yeah, this is my brother. It's very hard to work with a sibling. But yeah, no, I mean that.
I'm in.
We've collaborated so much over the years in terms of sharing stuff, and we got David on as an advisor for helping us with our Chinese launch and so on, and we are sharing ideas and showing each other what we're working on, regardless of whether it's for the same company or not. So our DNA is spread across all the games we've worked on.
Yeah, it happens automatically anyway. Yeah.
And you get more games if we spread out a little bit. I mean, if we did that, it would be like one
Quality, though. Well, thank you all so much for this awesome ARPG roundtable.
Thank you.
Round of applause, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's some real peeps there that knows how to make action RPGs. Okay, next segment. Oh, get to the Karn and Nukin, Mathild, and Scissorin. Here they are. Oh my god. Those shoulders, Mathild. Leave some ladies for us other people. And guys. He steals everyone. Serious? Okay.
My name is Zizarin, and I am joined here today by the wonderful Karn, Nugi, and Mathil to do the wrap-up of the second Exilecon 2023, and what a con it has been. We got a lot of bombshells, a lot of crazy stuff. Karn, first reactions, how do you feel?
I feel amazing, man. It's been a very amazing experience, you know, meeting all these people, meeting the devs, talking to them, trying the game, you know, just hanging out.
Nugi?
I mean, the same thing. I was
Damn,
here
it looks
last time, and then again, like 4 years later, we're back.
dapper.
And the people are just as nice, just as friendly. So it's been just a treat, just experience everything and learning all the new things about PoE2.
And Mathil, what about you?
Yeah, it's been terrific. Like it's, as you just said earlier, it's nice to come back, and it feels pretty good, feels right, as you said. It's just good to see the passion. You know, convention like this is kind of rare, where it's just for one game specifically, and everyone has that same thing in common. Many others, you know, for lots of little different things. So you can talk to anyone about the entire scope of everything we saw, and you can feel the passion.
Yeah, and that is quite rare because most conventions don't have that, as you said, so it's really wonderful, and we are getting ready for the final race of Exilecon, which will be right after this event wrap-up, so very excited for that. And the race is in PoE 1, so it'll be very, very familiar. It is a Kitava race, and obviously we've been dropped the bombshell that we were getting PoE 1 and 2. Mathil, was that something you were expecting, like an actual split of the game?
I mean, no, because I take it for what it is. They said, you know, it's going to be, and for the past years, I've been telling people that come in about PoE2, you know, can't wait for that whole new game. I'm like, listen, guys, it's not a whole new game. It's a side thing, and it's still going to be like lots of overlap with the same game. It's still going to be great. You're just going to have a better campaign leveling experience, and it'll be terrific. So, no, I didn't expect that, but I think it has potential to be absolutely brilliant. Has potential to burn us out a bit if you know, we're playing too much PoE. But, yeah, look, I'm looking forward to actually getting to test the full PoE2 and see how the cyclical changes go.
Absolutely, like Nugi, this is going to be like so much more content to cover. I'm guessing you're going to be trying both and see how it goes, but how is this going to change things for you in content creation?
How it's going to change my content creation? Ooh, I think as a creator myself, I'm just really looking forward to PoE changing in the direction where they're getting the full focus on kind of the direction they want to go in, because there was definitely a concern, I think, with the development of the game, like both together, like how do they split those two focuses? We saw like Ruthless, which was kind of a divergence of what a lot of people expected, and it's the same thing with PoE2. There's a lot of passion there that they want to instill into the new game, but how do you do that in both? And so I think the split is a very good choice, but definitely unexpected.
Absolutely. And Karn, you've been racing a lot. Are we going to see you racing in both PoE2 or PoE 1, or are you going to stick to racing in one of them?
No, of course, there's a race. I mean, I'm going to be racing both. I don't know how that's going to work for, you know, how we're going to do scheduling, because, you know, even now it's kind of hard with the, you know, league starts and the gauntlets, and it's like practice in between, so I already have very little time to get everything done and get some rest. But I don't know. We'll see. Like, there's a race. I'm in.
Absolutely, and we see today Karn is representing the Duelist, even having the Duelist pin. What was it like not having Bone Shatter? You tried out the Warrior, I believe?
Yeah, I did try Warrior. I mean, that's Thunder. And Thunder was actually pretty good in there. So, yeah, I was happy. I was fine.
So as long as you have some form of melee, it's really good. So what was your first experience? Like, how much did you get to play test PoE 2 so far?
Played a couple times. I did a couple different bosses and killed some monsters. It felt like the impact was like, you could feel the impact, especially like on skills like Thunder, we know what Thunder is, right? So it's like the sound, like everything, like how everything felt. The different skills you had to use to combo them, etc. It feels pretty good because it felt very similar to slams. It was pretty much slams, yes, with just different abilities instead of war cries. It was a.
Is there any like very big surprises for you?
Surprises. I would say that maybe. I don't think so. Actually, it felt very, very, very familiar. Honestly, like it was Thunder. With Thunder, is like you had also the supercharged slam, which I also tried, and I had these problems. But the stun thing, actually, the whole change to stun thresholds and how you can start, not stagger, but like stun bosses, like build up the stun on them, or you can guarantee even stuns, especially on melee. Like that was something that was relatively easy to do and could help like set up like stuff like supercharged
Absolutely.
slams,
So I tried both Act 4, Act 3, and Act 2, and I got absolutely destroyed in Act 3. I was just getting chain stunned, and then I tried Act 2 this morning. It was such a different experience. That felt like really like they nailed that, and I had such a great experience with the Huntress, and it felt a lot more like the PoE 1 I remember, where I was actually like crushing the monsters again, and very, very cool monsters, offering a mix of like mobility and moving things. So yeah, that was very fun. The biggest difference for me, and I don't know if it's the same for you guys, was like the wind up of attacks, like being like less instant. Same with like Thunder and the Warrior, because I tried that too. Noogie, what about you? Tell us a little bit about your first experience and what you've tried so far.
Well, I tried all of them so far. Not so much the Sorceress, I think it was called, because the game unfortunately had a little bit of bug. So, but I'll stick to the other three classes. So, Monk was really, really fun. There's a lot of distance measuring with getting in and out of combat, and I think they are going in a really, really fun direction in terms of dynamic combat in that. The charge system seems way more intuitive now compared to what it did in PoE 1, where it's all about, well, you constantly have to kill something within 10 seconds, and then you go to a boss and there's nothing to kill. And so I think it's a much more dynamic style around those, so that was really nice. The dodge is something that's new, where you're not really using it as a movement skill. It's more like a utility skill for evading certain attacks, and I think it felt really good on the Warrior specifically.
Yeah.
Because you are kind of slow, and so you need to really get around to get a good position so you can land those big hits. So I think that worked really well, but
especially
still a lot
with
of
the leap slam.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you try the Sorceress as well and the Huntress?
Huntress, I did try, yes. A lot of pokey combat, like more like mid-range pokey. You create fields of slows. You make them walk over, and you can create like blinding fields as well. So a lot of area denial, and just again pokey in and out of combat.
I don't know if you had a similar experience to me, but obviously a lot of people have been worried about having to use so many different abilities. But the Huntress felt a little bit more like PoE 1 there, where I used what was the lightning strike called? The one where you throw the like javelin.
Lightning spear or something.
Lightning spear. I used that for clearing, and then I used like the spear attack for single target. So that's like a reassuring thing for those that are worried that you're going to have to cycle between like 8 abilities now.
I think that they understand that they give you the option of going anywhere you want in terms of skill customization. You can have 9 different skills and they can all power each other up, or you can have you have a couple utilities. You'll have buffs and those kind of things, and they'll have they were talking about an on-dodge roll at the QA earlier. So they want you to have a similar experience with crazy like creative combat, cast on, cast, and all those things. They're still going to be there, and as like speedy combat, and we were going to get all the creativeness and silliness that we had in PoE 1, but without it going, you know, all the way to the moon.
Absolutely, and we saw like in some of the later acts even, which we don't even get to see it to endgame yet, and we still see pretty good density like in some of the like Act 4, and especially it was just I was getting crowded by mobs. Mathil, what did you get to try so far when you were doing the demos?
Yeah, so I did the live stream demo, I think, pretty soon after you. I was told that you had a rough time, you died a bunch, and I was just like, step aside, noob. I'm gonna get in there, show them how it's done. I got brutalized. Like it was, yeah. I did Act 4 because it was leading on from you. Tried the warrior, and I think I died on the first pack. Like it was, it was pretty unexpected. Well, my first pack was like hasted aura with a few other dudes, and they had extra damage, and I just got chain stunned dead, and then went, that's gonna be a tough one to follow then. So then, yeah, I kind of adjusted my combat, my play style, and I think that's exactly what they want you to do. It's supposed to be a very different experience to PoE 1, at least early on, where you have to start using your combat roles and planning your attacks better. It was still very difficult, very tough. I can see what they're going for, and at the same time, I think they also set us up to fail with some pretty like low-tier gear and all that. Like I'd say my character was a level 45 to begin with, and it's probably like 30% of what a level 45 would be gear-wise and passive-wise and all that. So it was supposed to be pretty tough, and we weren't supposed to get too far with it. But I have full faith that it's going to feel pretty similar to PoE 1 in the end, where you gear a character up and you're just going to, you know, comfortably smash through, but it's going to be a bit different on the playstyle. And I also tried Sorceress as well, which is what you had, like, pretty tough time with,
Did
right?
you die too?
A few times, yeah. I mean, I stopped caring because I wasn't doing it on stream, so...
Oh, okay.
So off stream, yeah, I just gave it a shot, and I'm like, I don't mind if I die too much. And I could see how it would have been painful to start with on stream and all that. But pick a good skill, like start using the arc and all that.
Yeah.
And use your freezes and your dodges
I was trying to use
appropriately.
Comet a lot.
Yeah.
It was rough. It was rough.
Yeah, exactly. You want to see the comet, you're like, yeah, let's go. It's going to be cool. But you're like, this wind up and everything's just so many mobs, and it was...
Yeah, it was particularly, I don't know if you had the same experience, but it was very confusing to me that like, even though it was like close, I was throwing close to me, sometimes it would move back and sometimes it wouldn't. I couldn't always figure out exactly what the reason was, because they would do it on a mix of ranges. And I was like, I want you to move me back when I'm throwing my comet. But yeah, and they did also say that the demo that we've been playing is quite over-tuned as well. Like they haven't been able to adjust the difficulty. So it will be a better experience. Obviously, a lot of people have been saying they're worried that this is going to be a lot slower, and that probably won't be the case when they actually get it.
Cry more.
This was just to really sail you into a different play style of like having to think more about your combat and really try and do the rolling as well, because that's a big new mechanic for us, and it's super helpful to like get out of there and plan your attacks more methodically after.
Absolutely. And one thing that really stood out to me was like the visuals. Like everything is just like miles beyond anything we've seen before. Like the things opening, like things coming out of walls, gates opening, everything. Like how much, Matthew, you love cosmetics and stuff in games, and you spend a lot of time on that. So this must be a big thing for you, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like, so I mean, so there was still some remnants of old skills, and we've already seen some pretty good updates in current PoE 1 from PoE 2 skills, but some of them were, just stunning to see, like, as a bit of a revamp for an old skill, and just looked a lot crispier. But it's more the environment than anything. Like, I was going through some prison area, there's all this really cool water flowing through, and monsters bursting through walls and stuff, and yeah, I mean, it's going to be just exactly what I'm looking for, some stunning visuals.
Absolutely. Nuyi, what about you? Visuals, you're pretty big on that.
Oh, no, I love the visuals. The first talk we had earlier, just at the keynote, right after, I was so sad that I didn't get to mention all the like absolutely amazing and stunning visuals. So there was when I saw the water waves crash onto the rocks, I was taken aback just a bit. And earlier I was here with Neon playing, and during the gameplay we walk into like a cave, like a volcano, like with like a volcano, I think. And I go in and I just there's these dips within the terrain where there's lava flowing, and I could literally feel the heat. I just stood there just for 5 seconds. Whoa. Okay, that's amazing. So yeah.
Karan, what about you? How does the graphics impact you?
I mean, I was very surprised because I know that I was heard that you know, it was like a very big step up from what we had in PoE 1, and compared to like other games we now might have played recently, and yeah, the difference was like actually like I did not expect that, honestly. I was actually like pretty shocked. Yeah.
I actually wanted to mention was a big part of that as well that you could very much feel an impact, and hopefully you guys felt the same way, was when they did the reveal and the announcement, going through the years of old trailers and seeing exactly how far we'd come, and it was honestly a bit of a tearjerker. You know, you're just like, holy, like we are going places, and then it stops at 2019, like for Exilecon, which already seems so far away. Like it was so far in the past, and we'd come so much further. Like going from PoE 2 now to what it originally started with is nothing short of mind-blowing.
Absolutely. I had the same experience. I was sitting there and I was tearing up a little bit. I was like, man, what a journey.
Yeah.
And with everything in mind, Karan, what are you looking forward to the most with PoE 2?
Looking forward to the most in PoE 2. I mean, obviously it's gonna have to do with like how it's gonna apply to racing, for example. Like I'm really curious to see how it's gonna end up shaping up, because like we really have no idea like how long the acts will take. We don't know how fast we'll be able to go. We don't know, like there's so many things that we don't really know, and like there's a question up there and it's out there, and I have no idea what to expect. So that's what I'm actually looking forward to, figuring out the game like in that way.
Awesome. Nugi, what about you?
I mean, figuring it all out. I think figuring out like all the new skills, all the new variations, new uniques, new bosses, new monsters, how all the intricate mechanics will work together, how can we solve the passive tree. Yeah, just a brave new world, honestly.
Yeah, make new deal.
Mathel?
Yeah, I think I talked a bit about it on the previous thing. It was more about the classes than anything, and especially the ascendancies, because those are the real game changers. Those are the ones that really give your characters like flavor, identity, power, and I mean, I want to see exactly what they come up with all that. Because it's got to be huge, right? It's got to be
absolutely
real customizable for each individual class as well. Especially, I mean, I guess to be specific, I want to throw some javelins, and I want to get some lightning fury from D2, pure javelin action. I think it's going to feel amazing with PoE density, with PoE mechanics.
Yeah, I mean, you're known for making builds, and now, are you a little bit worried about how intricate build guides and builds are going to be? Like, we get changing skill systems and so many things to remind people of. Use this skill with your offhand, etc. Is that a little bit daunting?
To some extent, but I kind of just stay in my own little wheelhouse these days and just do my little stream, and I try and do a build and then just put forth some level of info that's, you know, if someone that knows what they're doing can follow it along, and then just leave it up to people like you that want to actually carry someone all the way through and give them all that basic info, because it's just too much. I gave up, like, and there's enough people that are willing to try and take the mantle of that helpful sort of person that I'm just going to do my own thing and hopefully have as much fun as possible.
So out of all the new things we've seen, like shape-shifting, etc., is there anything you're already eyeing up as something you'd love to like really get your hands on that's very different from PoE 1?
I don't think I look that far in advance for the future. I mean, definitely just all the new weapon systems. So javelins are being one of them.
Yeah.
We saw like a teaser during one of the slides, flails. Like,
I haven't seen that.
You haven't seen that? That was during one of that was during one of the talks. So it was live streamed. It's good.
Okay. Yeah, I'll watch it later. I had a thing.
Yeah, so just the new weapon, like there's only, I think those, maybe one other. But yeah, weapon types that are going to customize new skills, new abilities, new gameplay.
I think for me personally, what I really want to do, Druid. Like I've always like wanted shape-shifting. Just sounds so fun. And I really hope, what I really hope PoE 2 brings is some form of like a animal summoner. That's something I always felt like missed a little bit in Path of Exile. It's always been like undead minions, etc. I really hope we get to see some wolves, eagles, stuff like that.
I mean, surely with the name of the new aura or like the new resource we get, Spirit.
Spirit, yeah.
It lines up perfectly with the Druid, no?
Yeah, but Spirit isn't like Druid specific, right? It's for everyone.
No. Yeah, but they are talking about it. It is also for summoners and minions.
Yeah, and I really like the spirit idea. That's something like, it sounds so nice to like have something specific for managing your mana that you don't have to like compromise. I think that's a really cool idea. Maybe we'll see more Archmage in PoE2 as well.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah, for sure.
Noogie, what about you? How does this like, what build do you want to do?
What build do I want to do?
What build? You have to pick one.
I just want to build defense.
You just want to build defense, that's important.
I think you've got to build defense, right?
Yeah, no, I think
that's
so.
the thing.
Oh, yeah. No,
Yeah, that's for sure. At this place, for sure. You can't be just, you know.
Well, I'm sure like you will be dodge rolling around everything and ignoring defense as much as possible.
Yeah, man. 4K live dodge rolling. That's all it takes.
4K Methil build. I remember back in the day it was a 3K Methil build.
It's always been the bare minimum. That's like, if it lands at 4K, then so be it. That's just a random metric, but it's always the bare minimum to get by. And it started to raise over the years, and then it came back down as we got better defensives and better like ways of dealing with damage. So then it came back down to 4K life meme builds again.
Karn, Lord of the Bone Zone, should we even ask? What are you looking forward to play in PoE2?
I don't
Are you
know,
just hoping there's a Bone Zone?
It's really tough, man. I don't know. I'm thinking
Bones.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna play slams. Of course, I'm gonna be slamming because they're back. But, like I tried Sunday. Sunday was actually really good, at least in the demo. So I'm really looking forward to, especially with what the weapon system is gonna imply, to be able to be swapping weapons, having different setup for single target and for clear, which is one of the things that are kind of a problem sometimes if you want to play a meta character. Your skill can be very, very good at clearing and very bad at single targets. So that's going to fix that problem. It's going to give a lot more variety to what meta abilities we can use. So I'm looking forward to that a lot.
Awesome. And as a final topic, we have the race starting in around 4 minutes. We have Ty23HE, I'm Exile, Killer, and Havoc616 all competing for a lot of money.
Yep.
Really cool prizes that we're it's going to be interesting. So we'll start off with Mathul. Who do you think will win, and who would you like to win?
I'm not super invested in the races. They're great right here in Exilecon, like actually being here with everyone, crowd reaction, all that. It's actually quite a vibe. But look, I probably want Havoc to win. I don't know who will though, because they're all really good at this point. From my understanding, they're all kind of on a level playing field, and it's just whoever has the better day or the better run of the time. But I know what it takes, and I know that Havoc's been grinding, so I would like to see him win.
Awesome. Yeah, he's been working really hard. I barely gotten to see him. He's just been practicing away. Noogie, what about you? Same question.
I hope it's going to be a tie.
One of the
Wait,
two?
are you saying, yeah. Are you hoping there's a tie between people, or are you hoping one of the ties wins?
No, I hope it's like there's
a tie between the ties.
So they've been practicing. Yeah, that would be great, right?
A tie.
Yeah, tie.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
Okay, what about you, Karn? You were like practicing a lot, trying to get one of these as well, so you know a lot of what it takes to be here.
Yeah.
Who do you hope wins?
It's too hard. Like I have ties to everybody, but Ty in this race, like Exile, Tai and Havoc all good friends, and I want like either would win. Either winning is would be good for me. Like I would be happy for either of them. So like I can't really pick one. I would say I would say Tai. Let's say Tai.
Yeah, it's a tough one, obviously with like knowing everybody, etc. But I would say I hope Killer wins, especially because he came last time after getting Tabula.
Oh yeah.
And he's even been using the name Tabulast as his name. So I think it would be like Killer or Havoc. And then I think I'm Exile maybe has an edge.
Is that your prediction or what you're hoping?
I think I'm Exile is going to win. Okay. But he's been winning too much. That's why I hope Tabulast
I think Exile is definitely the favorite for this.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's like one thing though, is he's never played on stage before.
Oh.
So it's going to be, there's like...
Yep.
There's many ways it can go. Like this can either empower him and he just pulls out a personal best, like right now world record, or he just crumbles and performs. Like this is an extremely big factor that people forget. And Tai, for example, Havoc and Tai they've competed on stage here, so they're ready for that. Sure. Tai especially, I've talked to him and he's done some extremely focused preparation for that, like practicing with the correct lights, everything. So. We'll have to see how Exile fares with the pressure.
Interesting.
Awesome. Well, we're getting towards the end here, so I hope everybody's been enjoying watching at home. I hope you will all enjoy watching the race and cheering for your favorite racer. And they will be casted by Rice QT and Ziggy D. So thank you all for having us. I hope you guys have enjoyed this wrap-up of Exilecon. Thank you for being here in person and on Twitch. So thank you for watching. Try to die less than I do.
Okay. Race finals. That's gonna be interesting. Food. Race time.
So that's pretty brutal, and certainly
Absolutely.
for another four. G'day Exiles and welcome back for another Exilecon Grand Finale. I actually nailed it this time. I said finale last time, remember? Yeah. I am Ziggy D and I'm here with Rise QT once again. I'm very excited to be back. Another Exilecon wrap-up race and commentating for you fine folks today is such a treat.
Absolutely. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be quite the race. I know that the racers have been preparing mercilessly, which we'll get into in a second, but we are going to have a good show for you.
I have no idea how this race goes. I haven't looked at Reddit or Twitter or anything. I just went to bed and woke up because I had to sleep because I was almost dying.
Good monster prize.
As we like to say in the business. It's all going to be about moving through the first 5 acts of the game and defeating the Act 5 final boss, Kitava, and trying to do it deathless, although if they do die, they can continue, but there is a harsh 1-minute death penalty if they do so, where they are locked in place and cannot move. So that's pretty brutal and certainly something to avoid.
Yeah, and you get respawned in time as well, so you got to make sure that you always have portals, that you're ready, that they're down, actually, because in some of the qualifiers, we've had some tricky situations where people run into the problem of maybe being a little bit too confident and then not leaving a portal, and that really catching up with them eventually.
Can be absolutely brutal. It's when you're playing Path of Exile this fast, things get a lot harder because you're moving through very underleveled, very undergeared with just the skills that you can get to carry you through that situation, and it can be real tough. It can be real tough to do it.
It's always super tough. The faster you go, the harder it gets, and these guys go real fast. If some of you guys caught some of the qualifiers, the times were pretty ridiculous, and it's been a long time since, and those players have been practicing like crazy.
Yeah, that's it. We started at times at 110, 115-ish, around that range, and ended up getting race times of like 106, 105, something like that.
Yeah.
As well. So yeah, we should be seeing some fast times today, especially with the practice people have been putting in. But first, let's talk about who is actually going to be racing today, who qualified through the 4 qualifiers that we had in the months leading up to this Exilecon, for them to be here to compete on the grand stage to wrap up an Exilecon. Such a prestigious position for any Path of Exile racer to be in. But taking the first qualifier, we had I'm Exile. Could you tell us a bit about I'm Exile, Rise?
Correct. I'm Exile is actually a very interesting player because he has only been playing since last Exilecon. He started playing in Metamorph, but he's an extremely dedicated player that immediately applied himself, began to practice. He got into racing very, very quickly. Some of you guys might know him from some of the Gauntlet races in which he's performed tremendously, really. But throughout all that, he's been practicing some of the short races. He's done extremely well, and he has definitely shown so with the first qualifier, winning it very decisively, despite running into an issue at Dominus. He had a little bit of a rip. Like mentioned previously, you do spawn in town and you have to wait. And he had to do that, and despite that, he still dominated his competition. And he's the sort of player that really does better and better with the amount of work and practice he does. He's kind of like the Rock Lee, maybe, of racing for PoE.
It's pretty remarkable to like get into Path of Exile so recently and be at like the top of the pack in that like such a short time frame.
It's crazy.
He's a gamer, right? Like he's good at a lot of games.
Words cannot express enough. For most people, it has been like 10 years, and obviously everybody else is improving as well. Yeah. It's not like they're all standing in place. And yet, he's been able to catch up and destroy.
Yeah, and next in the second qualifier, we had Tai Killer retake the stage after being here at the previous Exilecon.
Yeah, he was at the previous Exilecon, a long-time player now, and I think a little bit of a crowd favorite for many, quite the memer Tai Killer is. But also for him, yeah, despite the fact that he's kind of been resting for a little bit, it seems like he's gathered a lot of energy through that time frame, and once he applied himself as well, he really got some real good times and began to dominate as well. Again, some of you guys might remember him from the Tabula situation from the previous Exilecon. I don't think any of that is going to be happening this time. It's just one of those things where if you get too lucky, you don't get that in practice.
Yep.
So once it happens live, you don't quite know how to react to it, and practice really is number one. Effort is everything that matters for these races.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say if Tai Killer sees a Tabula on the ground, he'll be veering far away from it.
Yeah, and times have changed as well. I mean, vendoring a Tabula is very valuable. You need alchemies, you need transmutes, you need so much loot and gear now. Those orbs of alteration will come into play for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot to be got there, and very exciting stuff. Tai Killer has had a pretty cool story, I think, actually. With like last Exilecon, he was pretty fresh to the game. And now he's got a little bit more veteran status, and he only just kind of scraped his way in last time. But now he handily got in on that second.
Oh, yeah.
It was quite a solid effort. And then taking third place is a personal favorite for me, maybe, Havoc.
Unbiased casting.
Very biased casting. Havoc has been a long time Path of Exile racing community organizer, even more than an actual racer himself, like a very, very good racer, but someone who's brought people together and ran race events and done a lot for the community. So it's very, very cool to see him here at Exilecon racing on the stage today. So
yeah, a lot of people might know Havoc from
Havoc is an OG.
long-term races that he's done. He actually happens to be the first ever level 100 in the history of Path of Exile ever, which back then took a pretty big effort. We were talking months of playing, and he wasn't really interested in short-term racing for a very long time. I remember many years ago trying to talk him into it, and he was having none of it. Eventually, once he got the bug, he really just kept going, kept improving, and he's also the sort of player that really gets a little bit rusty, I do gotta say. When we were watching some of the first initial qualifiers, he did participate in all of them. He was a little bit rusty, but he's also the player that really, with that practice, gets so solid, and he has just incredibly consistent runs, which, you know, that's understandable considering that you're if you're gonna be playing to level 100 on the hardcore or not, you can't really afford to die. So no dying for Havoc, I don't believe. And he has been practicing a lot. Funny fact from the looks of it, once we were at Exilecon, the only people that were online on PoE for some of our friend groups friends list was literally just Havoc, Tai Killer, and Exile, as we're going to be talking about the last qualifier, who's a little bit of a secret. It's hard to get a hold of him.
Yeah, more on that in just a second. But I did see Havoc this morning at breakfast, actually, and he was eating a champion's breakfast, a heaping plate of protein,
he's a healthy
energy,
boy.
And getting ready. But more so than that, what really struck me was his focus. He was like monk Zen mode. I timidly approached him and said hello, and said, "How are you going, Havoc?" And he was like, gave me an intense stare.
So I'm in a back room. He didn't even look at me.
Dude is focused. He is honed in right now. He told me he's been practicing every waking second.
I can imagine. Yeah.
I actually feel like a little bad for him because they through winning the qualifiers, won a free trip to New Zealand and Exilecon, but they're so intensely focused on actually doing really well in this race and hopefully winning that a lot of them didn't even come to the con or go to events, or they skipped the VIP dinner.
30 minutes before this, nobody could find Havoc because he was still practicing, and it was like a very last minute, where is he?
So I hope they at least afterwards get to enjoy the after party maybe and the VIP dinner tomorrow. So they get to enjoy the con a little bit at the end at least.
Hopefully.
But the race is everything. The race is everything.
Well.
And speaking of the race being everything, we have our fourth and final mystery player who raced under many different names And it was difficult to say if they were always the same person, but it was Gurast, our mystery player.
Gurast.
Fourth and final qualifier.
Okay.
And it is possibly at this point the worst kept secret of Exilecon as to who that player is. But we were initially told to keep it secret until they came out on stage, but they did make an announcement themselves, so I think it's probably fair game.
A statement.
Yeah.
Who is it? I have no idea. I don't know who it is.
Rejoining us after previous Exilecon, the winner, the grand
okay.
winner of previous
Yeah.
Exilecon, Ty 23,
Yeah.
taking the 4th place. And that is very exciting.
That is very exciting to people who don't know who Dai23 is. He's the sort of player that was around the Path of Exile community for a long time, known as Easy Scrubcore Man. And there were a bunch of races. He wasn't doing actually that good, but we had a friend who was constantly saying, there is this guy who's really good. And one time he was watching Steel Mage's stream, and Steel Mage enlightened him. Steel Mage said, just don't die. And so Dai23 decided to not die anymore. And not only that, for that entire year of racing, out of, I believe, 11 events, he won every single one of them, which then culminated in the win at Exilecon.
It's literally like unapproachable levels of legendary status of Path of Exile racing. Like this just doesn't happen in most like games or anything where you just have one person just win everything.
Yeah.
It reached legend, like mythic proportions, and they released like a video at the end telling their story that was like meme-filled and glorious.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, certainly as a result, securing their legend, and a surprise that they had returned, and
that's part of it,
in an
because
interesting way.
we are talking about a return. Actually, after that fact, he quit. He made a retiring video.
Dropped the mic.
Yep. And nobody was able to contest him, and I do know that a lot of people wanted to, you know? They
want that belt, right?
Yeah, they wanted to play against him, but he didn't give an opportunity for them to do so until very recently, and he has been participating in all of the qualifiers, and I gotta say, some of it was a little shaky.
Yeah. I mean, he was retired, right? And
yeah, he was definitely pacing himself in his practice. You could really see that throughout different acts, some of that domination was coming through. Some of that alt Dai23 was really coming through. But once you got higher in those deeper acts, like Act 4 and Act 5, he began to struggle a little bit. So he really had to rebuild from the ground up. But that was a few months ago now, and I believe that he's ready to play.
Yeah, overcame some potential.
I put my money on Dai23.
Blowing the dust out, so to speak, and he almost had it in the 3rd qualifier, but tapped out a little too early.
Yes.
And but did come back in a big way in the 4th qualifier and secured.
Although keep in mind, Havoc was still winning.
Havoc was. Havoc definitely earned that spot.
Oh yeah.
But it's not long now until we're heading over to the stage where the racers will be taking their seats and get a little introduction by Chris Wilson, and we'll begin the official countdown for the actual start of the race. Very exciting time.
I can't wait.
A little excited, a little shaky.
I think it's going to be
Shut the fuck up. We don't care about you. And the final race will be done in Path of Exile 2. Act 1 to 5.
Hi, welcome to the race event. This is the culmination of everything we've been working up to at Exilecon 2023. Thanks very much for watching so far, either in person or from home. We're very excited to see how this plays out. We have 4 of literally the world's best Path of Exile racers who are going to be competing. We don't know who's going to win. I'm really excited. And without further ado, I want to introduce the contestants. So we're starting with Tai Killer. Good luck. And our second contestant is Havoc. Best of luck. Our third contestant is I Am Exile. Best of luck. And finally, our reigning champion, the winner of the 2019 Exilecon race finale, we have Ty23. Best of luck. All right, contestants. Take your seats and let us know as soon as you're ready.
I hope anyone wins. Everyone is very deserving.
So our contestants are going to take a moment to get comfortable at their computers, make sure they've got their favorite mouse and keyboard, headphones, everything they need, hand warmers, everything you need to participate in the race, and shortly we'll be starting. I am incredibly nervous, and I do not even have to play the game here.
Seems like who seems to be the most
Everyone good?
relaxed? Ty23 seems to be super relaxed. Maybe, yeah, he seems to be into like bodybuilding and stuff. Maybe he's been on stage a bit. Makes it so much easier for him.
Are in the right position before we start. Great. All right, well, I'm going to get out of the way and let these guys participate. We'll start the countdown now, and best of luck, everyone.
Yeah.
All right, folks, here we go. The racers are taking their marks, and whoo, quite a show for the stage entrance there.
Oh my goodness, Ty23 unleashing. Previously known as the Cherry Boy, none of that anymore. What a gamer.
Absolutely shredded, very nice. Looking in fine form, both mentally and physically. But also I'm seeing some intense focus on the faces of Havoc, Killer, and I'm Exile. They are taking their marks, they're spamming their hotkeys, getting everything set up, getting their hotkeys and everything in order.
Oh yeah.
Getting comfortable. Here we go. Whatever they need to focus themselves in these final 30 seconds. This is when like the nerves reach their peak right here.
Oh, this is when the focus reaches its peak.
Yes, all right. So now what we're seeing here on stage is what they're playing Rangers. What the players are going to be doing is what's called muling, which is effectively they roll a character, in this case the Ranger, in order to get a few specific things to give their subsequent character.
He tries burning arrow. Okay, those are, listen, every single second is going to count. Those are seconds that do count. I do remember in the last Exilecon, there was a little bit of a problem for Ty23. He described the dropping a transmute and not being able to pick it up immediately as a difficult moment for him. So
a little bit of sweaty fingers there at the beginning.
Or maybe he was asserting dominance, you know?
Some sort of strange flex. But we are seeing the players on the Rangers right now. They're going to be taking down the first boss Gillick, getting themselves a crucial momentum support, which they'll be using in combination with Leap Slam on their next character, and hopefully some very nice gear drops. I did see a transmutation for Killer there. Very nice. And a couple rare items actually dropping as well. So that early loot can make a pretty big difference. The characters need a lot of different currency and items, and especially sockets. Getting some early blue links. I did see some nice blue links there for Havoc, actually. Can be crucial. The players need a red-green link for Leap Slam and Momentum. They also need some blue sockets and some red sockets for the early game here as well. And with the way the vendors are at the moment, they can be quite static and it can be difficult to get some of those sockets that they need for the skills that they're going to use. And that can be quite tough. So now you see that the players have jumped over to Templar after just finishing that Ranger, stashing everything in the stash, and then logging out. Now that they're on the Templar, they'll be able to do this little run again here and actually go and retrieve that gear so that they can take it forward into the actual race proper. So we are seeing everyone's on Templar, no unexpected surprises there.
If you're going to be racing, you want to be racing on the best setup. Although there was a lot of conversation about Duel is potentially being faster, but the thing about Duelist is that it's kind of driven by RNG. Not a whole lot of RNG when it comes to the tempo-line gameplay, but there is one thing that might end up being a big deal, and that would be a Chance Orb or a few things to buy that Chance Orb and get cremation. But we're going to talk about that more once we are in Act 3, but just keep that in mind as the players are already preparing for it.
I like seeing some unidentified boots for Tai Killer.
Let's
nice
go.
Early movement speed can make a big difference. Long term, it doesn't actually... Oh, Tai fumbling a little bit with the stash there. Maybe a little bit of nerves. Misclicking several times in a row, but he's okay. He's got
There's gonna be misclicks. It's gonna even out. I think everyone is very nervous.
Right now, movement speed not as big a deal, but if you do manage to get some early, it can make a pretty big difference. And that's because the players are leap slamming and using a lot of movement skills here. Frostbeak leap slam long term. But I didn't get any move speed there for Tai Killer that I saw, and I don't see any boots on Tai 23 or I'm Exile, so no major advantages there. And on Havoc we did see a white pair of boots, but it has got that 3 blue linked sockets, which is very handy for getting those early skills set up. So what you'll see is currently rolling Magma linked to Elemental Proliferation just to get things started here. It's got really good damage, you can do some multi-hits with the bouncers, and you've got those Elemental Proliferations just to help with that pack clear a little bit. Moving into a dangerous zone here, Ryan.
100%. So much importance in that positioning when it comes to the Magma Orb, but as we say that, we are in Mudflats, and like Ziggy mentioned, this is a difficult zone. I can see blue mobs on Tai Killer's screen. Keep in mind that they are not, in fact, fire resistant, but will be very difficult to deal with, and most importantly, very time-consuming to deal with. They might drop some items. These players do need a ton of transmutes for later on in Act 3 for a recipe, but also right now to buy all their gems. Maybe they can get a Lightning Warp. Those are very important things for some of the skips later on. And as you can see, there's a lot going on each of these players' screens. They're really maxing out their APM, trying to go as fast as possible. There's so many things to take care of. But what's most important in this zone,
I can maybe move myself a little bit.
You want to get evasion, you want to get armor. Oh, a transmute for Tai Killer. He's definitely going to backtrack for that. That's a very important item, as I'm Exile in the bottom left is struggling right now with all of these Roas. So many white and blue Roas. As he runs past what I believe is
I think I'm gonna do
these players' filters are set up to the maximum. They're really min-maxed. They're always telling them what's dropping and what they need and don't need to backtrack for. Very important aspect of this race.
I'm in the way of I'm Exile. Sorry. I'm Exile.
Even down to things like actual sockets and weapon setups. And this is an actual, like, really interesting and unusual racing meta that we have right now as well. Different from anything that I've seen in Path of Exile history, where players are playing a spellcaster and leap slamming with melee weapons despite still spellcasting, and that's thanks to some rather unique and interesting passive skills and some interesting crafting options that the players can take advantage of here, as well as a recent
Havoc misclicked a few times. 2 times now.
Oh my good Exile. What is happening on his screen? There's just so many blue mobs, but he's taking care of them wonderfully. Those double taps from the Magma Orb. Wow, that was really, really well played by Exile. It's a very difficult pack of mobs to deal with. And some players might be listening to this and they're like, why aren't they talking about Havoc being in the lead? Well, he is. But there's so many things that these players have to take care of. There's so many things that they have to worry about that, depending on the sort of RNG that you're going to be getting at this stage of the game, you're going to be saving or losing a little bit of time. But you can already see that they are level 4. They do have their Frost Blink, which is very important for that animation cancel on the backswing of Leap Slam. And we've got Firewall in place as well to empower the Magma Orb and deal a little bit more damage. There's also a little bit of variety in these strategies that we're seeing from Tai Killer. You can see that he does have the banner, and Tai 23 also has the banner, but another thing that has been a big controversial subject is the fact that Havoc doesn't use Holy Flame Totem.
Yeah, did he just...
Oh, he just...
He's changed his mind, right?
He's changed his mind. Okay, see, that's what I like to hear, because in the qualifiers, he was pretty adamant about it being kind of a waste of time.
I was on board with that line of thinking. It does take a long time to put it down, and you've already got your other skills doing a lot of damage at this point, but... you know, here we go. Just every little bit of extra damage.
I mean, yeah, on boss fights you can put it down and then it deals damage.
Skills, as you see, 2 of them shoot projectiles, and the flame walls can help boost that damage up. So there can be quite a bit of damage stacked.
Yeah.
It's actually a really interesting skill setup and quite high skill ceiling, as the players need to position themselves
He used it.
and the totem and the flame wall correctly.
Chance Orb for Titan Killer.
That's a big
Exile has
early
like
drop.
3 transmutes too. This energy is cranked up. I guess something that we haven't mentioned is that if you've watched the qualifiers, you would know about this. This layout is set. They all have the exact same fixed seed layout, with one tiny itsy-bitsy exception.
Yes, Einhar. He's a troublemaker.
Yeah, we wouldn't call it a bug. It's more of a happy accident. So if you do see Einhar and you're wondering why is that zone different, well, it's because Einhar doesn't follow any rules.
He's a different kind of beast, so to speak. He does not follow the rules. He makes the zones however he sees fit.
Yep.
So if Einhar does appear in anyone's zone, their layout will be a little bit different as a result. But otherwise, all of the layouts are the same, and it comes down to getting what's called the read on the layout, and that's a crucial racing skill that is hard to see if you haven't watched a lot of Path of Exile, done some racing yourself. But there's so many different variations of each zone that they can be, and it's procedurally generated, but there are rules, there are tricks, there are all sorts of things that the players can learn for each and every layout that gives them a bit of a clue as to where the exit's going to be, where the crucial quest objectives are going to be, even things like where a pack of magical blue monsters might be, which is a lot of extra experience, for example.
Exactly so. And some players would argue that the layout reads really are the most crucial aspect of racing past a certain point. Obviously, it's incredibly mechanically demanding. Like, you can see exactly how much is happening on screen, how many things these players have to worry about. 3 transmutes and a Chancellor for Titan Killer. You really love to see it. Exile doing great on those transmutes as well as players are heading over to Brutus. I don't think we're going to be seeing a whole lot of...
It's evened out.
Screen freezes. What is happening? We're having difficulty.
No.
You don't want to see that.
No. Don't be like that. Havoc has practiced for like months. If it...
That does not seem right.
If this happens...
Starting his game.
Oh my god. No.
We'll see if we can find anything about that soon. It was right at the very start of the zone. We'll see if we can find out any extra information about that in just a moment. But for the moment, Titan Killer and Exile have been making their way through the lower prison into the upper prison now. All of them pretty similar in terms of progression through the zones right now, with unfortunately Havoc having to rerun that lower prison, as it looked like the instance did die and the zone was lost. Quite an upset, but definitely nothing that's going to keep him down. But right now, the race is very close.
The race is most definitely very close. I wonder if we're going to get some sort of ruling on this. I could see visibly how disappointed Havoc was in the situation. But if there's one player who can mentally recover from this and
it's probably him.
It is him. He really does have the experience. I fully believe.
I need a lag switch so that you can like manually lag everyone else if someone does lag, and just like even it out.
Yep, that would just saying, that wouldn't be a bad idea.
All right, we have I'm Exile, Titan Killer, and Ty 20.
Oh, rewarded with a chance orb. Sorry to intrude, Ziggy, but Havoc gets rewarded with a chance orb, so...
He's farming.
Yeah, no RNG for him. That's definitely going to help.
He's farming, that's it. We're moving into the Brutus fight now, which is a fight that's very big on... I talked about that positioning earlier with those skills and the player positioning.
Yeah.
And the Brutus fight really rewards good positioning in terms of safety and also a lot more damage. If they can get the totem on the other side of that flame wall, the flame wall on the boss, themselves firing through the flame wall and double bounce hitting the boss, then they can maximize their damage and thus their safety. And we see an excellent kill from I'm Exile, and Ty 23 only moments behind as well. Titan Killer kind of drawing Brutus into a corner here, and Brutus is moving around a lot more, which is slowing him down. If you can get him to stay in position, locked into one of his slam combos. He goes very low there with a chain pull. The flask is empty. He has no flasks whatsoever right now.
There's no life flask, nice.
Flame totem.
The regen on the ground there, but he's just going to not get hit. That's his strategy. He does.
Oh, that was close.
A bit close, Titan Killer.
Havoc
Quite nervous. He
is...
gets through though. What a to say. Very nicely done.
Yeah, but you can immediately see how difficult those fights are. Ty engaged Brutus before Exile and yet finished last, so how you perform in these fights can make a tremendous difference.
Yeah.
And that being said, Havoc fully caught up.
Yeah.
And ahead of Tight Killer, having already dealt with his Brutus. Yeah,
He has a 3-link. Yeah, that's Havoc has a 3-link.
Incredibly unfortunate, and yet he's blasting.
Yeah,
this is the Havoc that I know.
If you were worried about that little technical difficulty there, that little hiccup, then look at him.
And Chai 23 also has a 3-link. Yeah, I'm Exile and Tight Killer only has a 2-link. Makes a huge difference for clear.
The mob density that the players are going to be getting, but when it comes to shrines,
they have to find it.
They have to find it. So
If they don't find it,
I do believe. Well, it's
kind of right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got Ty 23 getting it as well. We'll see if Tight Killer and Havoc also manage to get the same shrine, because Acceleration Shrine is certainly big for getting through a big open zone that essentially is just skipped like this. So all players will definitely want to pick up that same shrine, otherwise
You should use the shrine to also kill some mobs, I think.
But as we were kind of hinting at earlier, Pacific Racing is very exciting.
Check out the shrine, Havoc.
Know who's in the lead, and it sometimes can take until the last moments of the race until you know who's actually won it, because while someone could be a zone or even 2 zones ahead, they might have skipped a lot of monsters, maybe missed some extra items and things like that that are going to
Armor
a
scrap.
little bit later down the line, and that sort of thing can snowball as well.
Havoc finds the acceleration, and he finds
So,
a Quicksilver Flask.
Wouldn't it be good to use the time
I mean, we talked as much
to kill? Because you can kill so much more
isn't as important as
fast.
it used to be because of the leaf slam action, but
If you use 5 seconds, you can probably kill a pack or 2.
You know, depending on the sort of playstyle that players have, some people really neglect.
Easy to say when you're watching, probably not when you play, to think about that.
It's on those boots, but that killer really likes running around. So if he were to be the one who got the Quicksilver, I think he would be very happy. But no, it's going to be Havoc. You know, Chris turning on the RNG after that technical issue.
That's it. In some zones, the movement speed is a big help when you can't quite really... Oh, a nice skip there for Havoc, actually.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah, I like
Havoc really cleaning it up.
Yeah, saving a solid 10, 15 seconds there with that skip, cutting the zone very short. Excellent. We're just getting some...
I'm Exile and Ty 23.
Decipher that for the moment. While I'm Exile moves into the Merveil fight, and Ty 23 also into the Merveil fight. Neck and neck here through the first phase. Halfway down, this can be a very tricky fight because she can be quite uncooperative in her positioning and teleporting and things like that. It's also quite a dangerous fight, getting mispositioned and eating barrage, and we have seen some of these players go down to the Merveil fight before, getting caught in one of the water pillars here in the second phase, and trying to jump out of the way and landing in the Screech of Merveil can do a lot of damage. There's also Chilling and the Exploding Squids. It's a nasty combination. So far doing well, but Ty 23 going quite low there, eating the edge of the Screech and kind of being caught against a pillar, but does manage to get out of there and scoops up quite a lot of rare loot.
Nice.
The first kill as a result, with I'm Exile only moments behind, not quite as much loot, but getting that kill squared away and moving into the jungle. Havoc is up next on the Merveil kill. Let's cheer him on and see how he goes in this first phase. I'm not sure
What has happened to Ty Killer?
First or second phase, both can be quite lethal, but I've seen more upsets in the second phase here, but very quick Merveil kills from Havoc here.
So clean, so good.
Ooh, kind of getting pushed off her a little bit in the second phase. Second half of the second phase, but he gets back on her there.
Oh my god.
She teleports in place, which is perfect.
Yep.
He gets a lot of loot too.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. He's got a full inventory. And this actually makes a big difference because the players need 8 transmutes for crucial crafts down the line we'll talk about later. So getting all those extra early rares to sell.
Oh my god, they found even more rares? It doesn't have space? What the fuck?
It's going to be super crucial.
Yeah, and that inventory management is so important. You really never want to be spending any time on having your inventory be full and you're moving stuff around and picking it up. That's just not
transmute.
Seeing Havoc gets a transmute. As Tight Killer still battling Merveil, it is very difficult to use your banner correctly to blast her away. And you know, it might look a little bit slower, but really...
Exile looks really solid. I think he's like settled in.
Prep himself up for the future.
DayOne23 looks really strong
the
too.
last player to enter the most confusing of acts ever, Act 2. So in this one,
I'm not using this as a
strategies. We've definitely seen that in the
negative word, but Havoc is a bit of a try-hard, which is something you should be, in my opinion. You should try your hardest, but that means that maybe this isn't the thing he's best at, but he's trying his best, so he is among the best. But I think he has another mental attitude towards the racing than the other people, which makes him in another category. And he
improve their character from the defensive point of view.
He might not be.
Power it up as much as
I don't know.
possible.
I'm talking out of my ass.
Farming a lot of currency
Orb.
here. He's got rare gloves, orb of chance, plenty of scrolls, and he's got another acceleration shrine in a rather crucial zone, the Chamber of Sins. That can be used to either get through the zone very quickly or farm up a lot of experience, as there is guaranteed in the set magic monster packs in certain places in this zone that the players will know. And he uses it to get through that zone very quickly while scooping up a little bit of XP in the meantime, looking very good there. And not everyone, people have had different zone clears these last few zones. It's been rather interesting.
Yeah, definitely so. And so many acceleration shrines.
Yeah.
We have almost tied kills for I'm Exile and Ty23 on Fidelitas there.
Whew.
The acceleration shrine to speed things up a little bit. And Havoc and Tai Killer not too far behind. Havoc currently just about to head to the boss, and Tai Killer just a little bit of a zone behind in Chamber of Sins 1 now. He does manage to get that shrine as well.
Uh-oh.
Through to the second zone.
Exile sees Ty enter the riverways in front of him. I wonder how much of a motivating push that is.
I love it.
You always love to see that they are in fact playing on the same realm from the looks of it, so they are going to be seeing each other in town.
Oh, I'm Exile just getting caught in a circle there. Fire.
That was so dangerous. If that was PoE 2, he'd be dead.
Absolutely, it would have been. It would have been so sharp.
Are so deadly.
Absolutely brutal. He does.
I hope
mean,
Havoc
Pavlov's
wins,
still has
actually.
some tricks up its sleeve, nonetheless.
I hope
even
Havoc.
after decades of practice and
He
playing,
deserves it.
from these players, some of them at least. But very nice escape there from IMXL. I love that.
Well, everyone deserves it here, so yes.
During that very scary situation.
Anyone wins, I'm happy for them.
Which is what that Warbanner is used for. Honestly, there's so many little details.
Doesn't matter.
In the race that even if we speak 100 miles an hour like we are, we're not going to be able to cover all
Oh,
of them.
Havoc got Einar.
Slamming that down for the adrenaline is not something that all of them take advantage of. And
That's the zone to get him in.
to try and save themselves, and it looks like it just worked.
Because you can follow the road, so if the layout is different, it doesn't matter
Continuing
too
a
much.
little bit of vendoring from Tai Killer, making sure that he's got everything that he needs, and you can see how quickly these players have to deal with that. Havoc micromanaging his inventory. Maybe
You want Einar in Weaver's chambers.
left behind on Mervale,
If you get him in there, it's huge. You get a lot of extra damage on the boss in there, which is kind of nice.
Aspect of racing. The more time that you have, the more time you have to kill monsters. As Exile runs into another blue pack. Very favorable blue packs for all players so far that we've seen. Nobody really falling behind on XP, and that, again, is a big factor here. Massive Shrine for Ty23 as he engages Weaver. Will this be enough damage? That might be enough AoE. Oh, no. Oh, he drops the banner late, I think.
Ooh, yeah.
Maybe he could have dropped it a little bit earlier, would have lasted just a split second longer. Might have allowed him to kill it. Same situation for Exile.
There was the day where people could get the kill on the first phase of the Weaver, but it's very hard to pull off nowadays. But,
it's quite random, yeah.
I'm Exile. Just taking the opportunity through the ad phase here, do a little bit of gear management and tactically organizing your inventory so that you can fit more items into it when the loot does drop, or just know where everything is and get those things socketed, get items crafted, all of that sort of stuff. There's so much stuff to manage on the fly, and you'll see players do things like click the vendor and then manage your inventory while they're running through town. and then while they're loading into the next zone. So all that sort of little shaving off moments here. But a nice Weaver kill for Exile, a little longer, but he gets it done cleanly and gets a little bit of housekeeping done in the meantime. Havoc also kind of taking the opportunity to do the same thing here. Looks like everybody that I saw got that massive shrine, so that does add a lot of safety to that Weaver fight, as it grants a lot of extra hit points. Very
Yeah,
nice.
I absolutely think so. Titacular, interesting, I caught a couple times that he's been picking up a lot of blue items, but he just picked up a sword, which you can vendor blue items for either transmutes or alterations if you need them, but then immediately drop the transmute after. I wonder if he's gonna continue with the same strategy, as Ty23 will be the first person to take down Creighton. That was a little bit of a strategy too. Some people were helping Creighton for the additional movement speed, but oh my god, with all these acceleration shrines, as you can see on Exile's screen, yeah,
Looks like we're
There's a
gonna have
Chaos
shrine race.
Orb.
We had one of the qualifiers where there was just a crazy amount of shrines, and it looks like we might be having a little bit of a repeat of that, a themed race, if you will. It's good old Domination League back for this race. Very cool. Havoc moving into that Creighton fight and getting a double shrined up for a very safe and fast Creighton kill. We're seeing Path of Exile 1 boss kills for racing now are very fast, and we're seeing faster than ever with a lot of these shrines here. Very nice stuff there.
Yeah, I mean, it would be pretty good to get a record time.
I'd love it.
Yeah.
I think I felt like we had that last time or something as well, like a record. I would love to see something like that once again.
Well, yeah, that's part of the game too, that probably something that these players need to get used to is how much faster all of the loading screens are and how much more smooth the game is when playing in a live setting. I do remember some of our past players mentioned how just clean and steady it is. I think they're getting a little bit stuck there. Trying to... Oh, he didn't have a Lightning Warp. There's a strategy where you can jump with Lightning Warp to the Creighton area from just that
It's just a racing god.
Sometimes you don't have transmute, sometimes you have a Lightning Warp. Oh, Titacular!
Accidentally exited the game! Oh no, a little smirk there. He's back in there though, nice and quick. A little bit of a flick, but he gets it up and going very quickly. Very nice stuff. Yeah, trying to, the players use logout as a feature to get back to town really quickly instead of using a portal scroll, which can take a little longer and uses the resource. The logout, used correctly, gets you right back to town very quickly as you just smash that enter key and get straight back into the action. But closing out of the game just has a few seconds where you have to reboot the game, and can also these little mistakes can kind of rattle you a little bit as well, just give you a little bit of jitters. But the nerves on the stage, it's.
I mean, I saw the smile. I saw he immediately smiled.
He's like, oops.
That's not even that big of a deal.
Yeah, it's fine.
It might be though.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to freak out Titacular. Okay, listen, last Exilecon, we brought a lot of attention to Titacular right before the race, and I'm sure he's focusing on not listening this time, but I do know, in fact, that during his practice, he was blasting the caster voices the whole way through.
Love it.
He can, in fact, hear us, and he practiced in that way for every single one of the qualifiers, and he said it was super effective, and he doesn't afraid of anything anymore.
So what we're talking about is Titacular was talking in the past about the idea that something that's very true, which is like playing the game up on stage, the bright studio lights shining on you, the crowd, the casters speaking over you, distracting you, an uncomfortable different setup, a different desk, all of this stuff makes a big difference. I know this time that a lot of players bought their own kit this time, and Titacular talked about practicing in adverse conditions intentionally in order to prepare for the race. But I love that.
You should play in a cold room, a super hot room, standing on your knees, standing on one knee, upside down, different heights on the table, someone screaming at you.
Sometimes these things can also bring out the best in people too, right?
These are gonna be
The best practice is take care of a kid while you try and race. Yeah. You'll be prepared for everything.
Every mob that you get is one less mob that you have to worry about later.
A kid screaming at you because they just want attention.
Significantly to the
Yeah.
point where a penalty will kick
If you can handle that and not be distracted.
At that point, all you have to worry about is keeping up your flask, making sure you stay alive, and leap slamming to... Oh, sorry. I thought I saw something, but I didn't. Just
Yeah.
into the sunset. Leap slamming into the sunset.
Nice. I'm Exile picking up a nice alchemy in the caverns. Very nice. Able to craft something up here, and actually moving up to a perfect time for a bit of management as they wait for Val to arrive. The next major boss the players are moving towards at this point is an excellent time to do a little bit of crafting and things like that. So we'll maybe be able to get a little bit of an assessment of where the players are at gear-wise.
TIE 23 looks really strong.
Looking a little bit ramshackle in places. You know, a rarity amulet's not necessarily the thing you want, but gear in each slot is honestly a blessing in a race like this when you're going so fast. Sometimes you can be like, oh, I didn't have gloves equipped this whole time. Certainly, but oh my god, those acceleration shrines are just everywhere.
They are everywhere. This is rigged, right? Can we get confirmation? Is this rigged?
Can we get confirmation of that? TIE 23 is the first to activate Val here.
Yeah, it looks really strong.
Inventory management. We see a little bit of gear swapping, throwing some steel greaves on the ground that doesn't need. Looks like he's got some 3 links set up.
Yeah, 3 links, 2 3 links,
IKF fusing for TIE 23.
3 links.
I don't see a Chancellor or a fusing for Exile.
He's got his 8 transmutes already sorted though, which is so good because that's actually really early. They need him by Solaris and in the next act. So he's got that currency squared away, which any extra can be used for crafting. So very good stuff there. So Exile. Going into that Val fight, second.
Yeah.
TIE 23's
Exile looks really. Exile looks really strong too. And as I said, Havoc. He has some. I don't know.
So far, looking fairly cooperative for TIE 23. Did duck away for one moment there, but goes into an ice casting phase.
It feels like he's trying too hard.
The kill there in very short order. We'll see how things go.
But
Exile
that's how you should do. You should try.
And so far,
like
so good. He did duck away there just before dying.
the hardest you can to be the best, but
Yeah,
seems like it's overdone with him a lot of the time in some way. I don't know. It just feels.
But one thing that might have
I don't know.
bothered some of these players is seeing TIE 23 to be the first person to enter Act 3.
Not in a
Act
negative
3,
way.
Again, the game becomes a little bit more difficult. Act 1 tends to be the most difficult act. Act 2 is kind of on the easier side, so I'm pretty sure that there's a big side of relief for a lot of these players. Oh, Titan Killer! Oh, what a layout! Wait a minute, did we see that? I completely was not seeing that.
How is there no connection over there? We haven't seen too many zone misreads or big dead ends.
Yeah, who misread that? Someone else misread that too. I was Havoc. I think Havoc, and they had to backtrack
That is
as well. They missed that, I think.
He's just a little bit of an
Someone else missed it too and had to backtrack.
Don't want to be having those situations in order to get that catch up. He's still got
I saw.
catch up though, and we'll see how he does as he moves into the Val kill. Just now, he's got a little bit of time.
Yeah, who?
He's here. We see TIE 23 filling out one of the clusters there, and I did actually want to talk about one of the things here that the players are taking advantage of. So you'll notice that they have Leap Slam, and earlier in the game, a lot of them will have been weapon swapping over to melee weapons because you need a melee weapon in order to Leap Slam. Dual wielding is faster, and certain weapon types are faster. Now you'll see, for example, on Havoc's screen right now, you can see an axe and a sword, and that's the ideal setup. Interestingly, though, in the current racing setup, the players will actually use
Acceleration shrine again.
spellcasting as well, and that's because there is a very cool dual wielding node that gives attack and cast speed, so both that movement speed and damage for their spells, but also the mastery, when they take that full cluster, can give 50%
Another shrine?
increase in damage, which is a
Is
huge
it
amount of
Domination League they're playing
if
in?
you're using 2 different
What the
weapons.
fuck?
So that's why they have that sword and axe. Such a cute and interesting little thing that the players have discovered and taken advantage of here. That's created a kind of a unique little racing style. So very cool to see.
2 shrines for TIE 23, 2 shrines from Exile, but Exile, no acceleration. But he is catching up. It's very close. TIE 23 will be the first person to take down, well, almost take down Piety as she jumps
we'll
ship.
see her again.
Exile right behind TIE 23. You can see that vendor movement is so clean. You can see him running halfway across the screen while talking to the vendor, giving him a chance to do that in town, so trade up your inventory and then keep moving. Again, these are the sort of tricks that you really have to nail, and it's very difficult because the timing is a little bit different in the live setting for sure.
There's some excellent movement going on for Havoc, I've been noticing, moving through some tricky zones with a lot of doors. And the way the players are working is they're doing the Leap Slam and then chasing it with the Frostblink 2, which is an instant skill, to just cancel that little bit of animation, and it'll just look like they're actually just levitating sometimes.
Oh yeah.
As they move through the zone, just fly multiple screens across the zone. But it's really hard to do that perfectly whilst turning corners and going through doors, and the doors are closed. But the best players can do that, and Havoc was just crushing it through Crematorium there. And I'm Exile moving very quickly through sewers with an acceleration shrine as well. Another one!
This is not right. Well, this is a very important zone. The sewers, it's because it's where the rats live, but also because you need the busts. You got to pick up the busts.
Yeah, they want those extra passes.
It's very important. That was another aspect of the qualifiers that was very different for different players. Some players were going for those busts and getting other players not so much, as I believe Havoc was dropping low.
Yeah, you got caught in a blue pack there. There can be some dangerous monsters here in the Zoas. Some of those undying grapplers and things like that, but he gets through there all right. A little bit of help from the shrines. Oh, nice.
Oh, boots.
Like a rare 2-stone
Deer
ring,
skin.
maybe? And
Wow.
oh, rare boots as well. A ghost maybe for a bit of oh, there's that acceleration shrine.
Yep.
There's like acceleration shrines.
The rings are
Oh.
so important. As I began to talk about it a little bit, Act 3 is where the game becomes difficult, but it's not necessarily because the mobs hit harder or anything like that. It's because they're beginning to use different types of attacks, different abilities, different elements. And so for that reason, you're going to have to prepare your inventory to be able to switch out to different setups of gear. If you're fighting Dominus, you might want some lightning resistance. If you're running through Crematorium, you want fire resistance, right? If you're fighting Piety, well, depending on the player, you might go with different sort of setups, as I do believe the players will be able to still abuse some of the portal tech to exit the fight and reset the portals, which might make Piety significantly easier than how other players would do it typically.
Yeah, certainly won't be doing that in Path of Exile 2, but for now they can take advantage of the portals. We'll see how that goes. Got Titacula moving through his sewer kill there, getting back into a little bit of a corner, but uses the opportunity to kill a few extra monsters, so not too bad a situation to be in. Havoc just picking up, guess what? It's another acceleration shrine in the battlefront there. He does leave, and that was a little bit of a... he's backtracking to do his Solaris, I see. Didn't really get to take advantage of the acceleration shrine, it seems, as he moves into Solaris there, killing off a few extra packs, as he's really trying to chase down that rare monster, taking quite a while. He does get the kill and gets a nice level there just before moving into the next zone. So I believe we saw it there. I think, was that taking the minion damage is the current strategy on the tree there as well, the minion damage scaling to get a little bit of extra damage scaling.
Oh, attack speed.
Moving across to pick up those nodes.
Minion attack speed.
You can convert minion damage over to scale your spell damage.
Well, we're definitely going to be seeing some differences here. I mean, Ty23 in the past was known to be a player that just got so good that he could afford to pick up life nodes, you know? It does give you that little bit of more life, gives you a little bit of stun prevention, which allows you to move around. Obviously, it's safer. But if you're ahead, if you're controlling the situation, if you feel like you don't have to get more damage, you have enough to clear and you have enough to do those boss fights.
Like underdog. No, I really want Titacula to like
as you're gonna have a much
win right now.
Understanding of where you're at in terms of RNG.
Because he's so behind.
And this is
well, he's behind. It's not. Yeah.
When these guys are thinking about when is that moment where I no longer kill mobs to get XP to improve my character and instead try to progress
for Ty23
and Kitava. And as we
not interested in those rare boots, they're just straight up vendors them, not even worried about it. He's set, he's looking pretty comfortable with his gear right now. But we just saw the end of Solaris, in which the players will pick up, unless they don't need it, but typically it's always needed, the crafting recipe that adds fire damage, which includes that fire damage to spells, that they can actually craft on their melee weapons, and it's a crucial part of this strategy. However, we mentioned earlier, it does need 8 transmutes, which is a lot of currency to get when you're moving this fast.
Well, 4 per weapon.
Yeah, 4
You're not always going to be crafting both weapons.
True, true. So 4 to 8, depending on the current weapon situation. But you don't tend to find spell damage axes or swords, so
yeah,
it can be really nice to be able to craft that and actually get quite a lot of damage. It actually comes at a really crucial time as well, because you get that at Solaris, and if you have the currency sorted straight away, you can get that craft done just in time for the Piety and then Dominus fights. And those can be really tough if you don't have a lot of damage, especially Piety as she moves through her phases. But if you can get a lot of damage, you can kill her really quickly and it becomes a lot easier and a lot safer. So timing on that, it can be rather crucial. I haven't seen Havoc go to the hideout yet though, so we'll see if he goes and does that in a moment.
Yeah, I mean, if he can take his time to do so, why rush it? You have all the time in the world. They're around the 37-minute mark, which is really fast. I mean, these acceleration shrines are playing a major role. Obviously, the players have improved tremendously. We have a little bit of a difficult fight now for Exile. That's going to be Vicious, who does a lot of fire damage. You do need to kill him for that previously mentioned incredibly crucial
I am Exile is in the lead now.
that then you use to buy cremation. But I don't see a chance for Exile. I didn't see a fusing either.
Yeah, that can be tough. The players will be transitioning from Magma.
That was a crit shrine.
As it's known these days, into cremation and Armageddon.
Was that?
With a little bit of desecrate to create.
Both of them skipped the crit shrine? Isn't that just like
we just saw Ty as the first one to reach
more
27.
XP?
The players are getting close to that point. So we'll see the skill change, and that happens actually basically at Dominus usually, maybe sometimes at Piety. So
oh my goodness. Oh, Exile killing a tormented rare mob. You can see the desperation. Unfortunately, this is the worst case scenario. I mean, I don't want to doom her too much, but there is a very small possibility that Exile is going to run into a problem that unfortunately doesn't have a solution outside of RNG. Typically, the RNG aspects even out, but the Chance Orb is something that just it does not have another solution.
Yeah, certainly you can get by with just one or the other on Cremation or Armageddon brand, but it's certainly not.
You can sell 2 Scourings, right? No, that's a regret, isn't it? Can't you buy a Chance Orb?
Killer moving through here.
Is it Alex?
Now it's a good place to pick up a little bit of extra XP. Took a skip across there. We'll see.
I don't remember.
It's the correct decision and whether he gets his quest objective or gets caught in a corner.
Not the recipe.
Killer, he's got 2 Chance Orbs. Maybe he can trade them.
Vendors.
That would be a first.
I mean, hey, they didn't tell us it's against the rules. I'm just saying.
Huh? If one other player has another. They're right next to each other. It'd be pretty easy to negotiate.
Oh, you can't do that until later, right?
Chris, Jonathan.
Yep. We are Lunaris Temple with Havoc right now with 2 shrines. He's got a diamond shrine and I think a replenishing shrine there. So a little bit of extra safety and damage there, and he's picking up those big fire damage nodes as well. So lots of damage happening now. The players just start getting faster and faster at this point. It's actually crazy. Exile looking the first to Piety. Let's see how she goes. She can be a little uncooperative if she teleports into a bad phase. She's standing there to cast her Ball Lightnings, which is pretty much ideal. She stays in location. Ooh, a short teleport is perfect.
Holy.
A very rapid kill there from Exile. Very nice. Pretty much ideal.
That was incredible. Yeah, you really want to kill it during that.
Ty 23, nearly perfect as well. Takes a big hit at the end there, but he's okay. It was basically as fast as possible. I don't think we even saw any Ice or Fire Form Piety for either of them.
As long as she dies within that duration of the War Banner placement, yeah, that's going to be very important. I mean, Exile, I can see that there is one solution. You can vendor a bunch of rares, get alterations, then convert those into
alterations.
And get a fusing, and then purchase the Chance Orb.
Fusings for Chance. That's the conversion.
Yeah, that's the deterministic.
And you gotta be picking up so many items. There's so many things to worry about. I mean, we've seen Dominus kills with Magma Orb, and it was okay. You can still put up with that, but once you get to those Act 4 bosses, that's really when the game ramps up, things become difficult, and you need as much damage as possible to shorten those fights and burst through them. As Ty 23 done with his Piety, and Havoc will be there shortly.
Very nice stuff. Ty 23 moving through a little bit of a dangerous spot there with the Quill Beasts. Jumping in, they're moving so fast that sometimes it can be difficult to know what's on the next screen, where you're going to be in the blink of an eye.
Killer is so far behind now.
Killing things at the same time, then sometimes those Quill Beasts can catch you off guard, but he does manage to survive.
Yeah, they probably need to die for him to catch up.
Some extremely difficult zones now. So these mobs heading up through Scepter of God have lightning damage. They can shock you for a large amount, but they also freeze, so you have to worry about that. Once you get to Dominus, you need lightning resistance for Dominus, but you don't want to die to the fire mob that jumps on you and does a lot of damage.
Yeah.
So this is where that gear preparation matters the most, because face tanking Dominus is a big aspect. And as Exile is looking to be most likely the first person who will reach Dominus, I think he will be level 28, no cremation, and he's got a little bit of a history with Dominus, as we've discussed previously. He did die on it once during the qualifiers. Actually, his qualifier that he ended up winning, he can afford to lose a little bit of time here, but he can't afford to die, I don't think, considering the cremation situation.
So we're seeing the first phase of Dominus fight now, in which a bunch of different unique guardians are summoned, and they're not too bad. If you can kill them in a group, that can certainly speed things up. There's a little bit of a danger there, but I'm Exile getting through quite cleanly, and you'll notice that he's pre-placing the flame totem, the fireballs and everything, because he knows where they're going to spawn, so that damage is already there and going as soon as they're spawned in. But here comes Dominus for the actual first phase, and you want to be able to basically just take him down before he even teleports away here if you can. And we'll see if Exile manages to do that. It's a short teleport, still kind of in range of his current position, and he gets the kill very nice. You see he's already moved over to the right spot for the second phase there. Ty23 going through his first phase now, and we'll see how it goes for him. While Exile does a little bit of gear prep, ready for the second phase there. Ty23 dodges the slam, which he kind of just locked into, as like sometimes they'll use a skill even when they're already dead, but he already had him taken down there. So Ty23 moves into the second phase as well. They're so close! Exile, second phase here. Let's see how he goes.
Yeah, you can still see that it's a pretty clean kill for Exile, who is slightly ahead.
Very nice.
Very good job by him. Dominus doesn't move a lot, so that magma, rolling magma is still so effective. Ty23 taking a little bit more time despite having the cremation pre-placed. How's this happening? And the Herald of Thunder is on the ground.
Yeah, he's going back to town. He's got a little bit of extra stuff to do there. This is interesting because Ty23 known for the coolest Dominus kill of all time.
Oh, yeah.
In which he killed Dominus without even looking at him and just teleported to the next zone within the blink of an eye.
Oh, yeah.
It was something that was supremely cool. But a bit more reserved and safe here playing it today with the portal pre-place and everything, actually. I like it. He's a little more conservative there, perhaps. But Exile taking a slight half-zone lead here. We're starting to see now where things are starting to shake out a little bit more in terms of who is leading the pack. And very close between Exile and Ty23. Just a little, maybe, edge there for Exile. Can be difficult to tell if someone's got a little bit of a gear edge that might play out down the road. But Havoc looked like he's taking third spot with Killer just a little bit behind him right now. Havoc moving into his second phase of Dominus as we speak.
Yeah, and a big part of this is also something that actually Ty ended up pretty much inventing, which is aura management. So you're going to be seeing players switching to determination whenever they need a little bit more safety, and then playing with anger when they need damage. Typically, I might have reminded Ty of doing so. No, well, maybe, no, I'm not quite sure. He was switching out something. But yeah, typically when you're running around and trying to go as fast as possible, you're going to be running around with determination as you do have enough damage. But then on those bosses, when you need to maximize your damage and really burst them down as quickly as possible, you're going to be running anger. And another acceleration strike for Ty. Oh, okay.
He's going so fast. Unique dropped at the edge of the screen. He didn't even look at it. He's just like, I got places to be, mate. I'm not even going to look at what that was. I don't even know what it was.
Exile's getting another. Okay,
like
this is
look at one of these shrines.
That is. Oh, Ty, I believe he clicked exit game.
I think we had another.
I don't think he picked up the thing, right?
Very nice.
It's just fast here.
Did he miss it? Oh, he actually picked it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was a slight mistake, not a. Yeah, I was thinking for a second because they're clicking so fast. I mean, a lot of times Exile is pretty much doing it instantly. Whenever he picks up an item, he immediately clicks to change the character selection screen. And yeah, it just looks super scary. I don't know if I'd be able to do that.
I've done that before where I've went to click up the quest item, logged out, and then I realized, oh, I didn't actually pick up.
Okay, Exile's getting so many acceleration shrines, I'm pretty sure you just run past one. I mean, it was a really dangerous pack, and he knows that he's very close to the exit, but still.
Too fast even for acceleration shrines at this point.
That's kind of ridiculous.
Killer moving into his Dominus fight now, taking out the ads. Ooh, very quickly. His damage is looking very on point. That is what he needs to be able to get through this fight nice and quick there. He's got his Cremation and Armageddon Brand running there, doing lots of damage. Being able to pre-post those Cremations as the mob spawn.
I was an acceleration run.
Preloaded and to burst them down right as they appear. Havoc moving fast right now. Oh my god, we are at the pinnacle of kill monster fast, both in terms of these races, but also in terms of
Oh my god, yeah.
acceleration shrines that have been seemingly hand-placed.
Come on, Havoc. You also deserve this. Come on.
Inventory looking like a little bit of a mess. He takes a moment to get a sip.
Nice.
It might be chaotically organized, you know? It just might be one of those things where he knows what he needs, he knows what he's got, and he's not going to be picking up that much more. He does seem pretty set up, which is very nice. It's going to give him an opportunity to catch up as I'm Exile with another accelerate. He's got another one. It's been every zone in Act 4. Huh?
Actually nuts. Killer gets his Dominus kill down. Second
We'll skip from Ty.
Oh,
he gets it. There we go.
Yeah, very cool.
Sorry, guys. It's just going by so quickly. There are very important skips in Act 4 in the Resto zone specifically and in Combs zone as well. But sometimes you see players, even though they have the possibility to go for that skip with a Lightning Warp that you're later on going to be needing as well, Exile gets another acceleration.
That skill's still going.
Do I even there's more accelerations than less at this point. They've had acceleration active more than less.
It's not just confirmation bias, I don't think. Like,
yeah.
Someone will go through and count and be like, yeah, there was like 19 acceleration shrines and like 2.
Rigged. But yeah, sometimes you're going to be skipping, like you're seeing on Havoc's screen. He went for the skip. And sometimes if you need a little bit more XP, those cages do offer a lot of it. Again, you can see it on Havoc's screen at the top right. Ooh, a little bit of movement there, but it's still clean. A big skip from him. Nice. Gets both of them. Very nicely done. Yeah, but
Havoc is catching up.
I think just
very nice.
So much XP. None of these players are going to choose.
Wow, his damage is insane compared to theirs. Holy moly. What has he done?
Out of existence.
Oh, blessed orb?
He's always a fast boss fight, but that was something else. It's like, our commentary can't even keep up with explaining the various skips and things like that.
Does he have like a secret tech here?
But yes, there is some crucial skips there that it's too late to explain. They've already done it. Yep. But, we do have on Kaun's Stronghold the potential for a huge skip actually, where the lava falls can be jumped up from the right angle, bypassing sometimes up to half of the zone. There can be 1 or 2 of those, and they're much easier to do with Lightning Warp, but they can be done in some of the ways.
I'm Exile is already at Combs.
I don't think I noticed
Sheesh.
Ooh, Exile. Yeah, see, this is the big problem when you have to use Magma Orb. When you don't have that Cremation, you're having to continuously cast.
Oh, that is brutal.
Yeah, you're just standing around, you're in danger.
Look at him though, he's still winning though.
Man, but the frustration.
Yeah,
I can see him boiling.
It's gonna take its toll a little bit more and just bleed away his lead.
Oh, he did that. He goes.
I'm double checking unless Exile had a different zone with Einhard. There was no skip in the most crucial part of the Combs Dream.
Yeah, sometimes there just isn't the opportunity, and it looks like
it's a pretty low chance.
Yeah,
it's like 10%, but we might be seeing it here.
Yeah.
Oh, he leaps it.
I don't think I've ever seen the leap slam.
Okay, buddy, relax. Most players are getting lightning warps for this. He leaps it.
He's like, don't even need the lightning warp. I did not even know you could leap slam up.
I had no idea.
Specific ones maybe that can be just leap slammed up. Yeah, I forget the right pixel though.
That was cool.
That was very cool.
I don't think I've ever seen that yet.
I love seeing things for the first time ever as a commentator live at the Exile.
But that's the difference. This is why we're sitting here and they're sitting over there. They know every little detail about what needs to be done here.
Hundreds of practice runs, finding all of
Havoc, lightning warping, he's got the acceleration, gets through. But you see,
not as fast though, yeah.
That was pretty fast, but it still took a while longer than Ty's jump. And the difference in understanding of the game comes through there. And and every single second is going to count, as Amexel will be the first person to enter a very difficult zone to run. That's going to be Belly of the Beast 1 and Belly of the Beast 2. Combined, both of those zones, I think, have
awful zones.
Something layouts, and they're pretty hard.
I guess
the mobs hit hard.
Both the zone layouts and the monsters make me very anxious in this zone that they're moving through right now. In particular, those little creatures that stick their spikes out and do a nasty puncture. Sometimes you can just leap into the middle of the pack and they all just whack you at once. Could be a real problem. But Amexel getting through pretty cleanly there. I was a bit worried about one of the packs he was jumping through.
Ziggy, we have crossed the 50-minute mark, and players are getting dangerously close to Act 5. Yeah, because Act 5 is very quick. If you guys think this is fast, Act 5 is absolutely ridiculous. Everything is set up. They are just going at that point. Killing mobs offers nothing for them. They're not getting XP. They're just getting flash charges. And so once we're there, it's going to get ridiculous, and the time is insane. And from the qualifiers that we talked about before, nobody got a time that was lower than 1 hour and 6 minutes. This might be under an hour, which was something that a lot of players thought was physically impossible. Nobody's ever even seen a time like that. I can spoil this now. I do know, in fact, that Amexel was getting averages of about 1 hour and 1, 1 hour and 2 sometimes. And when he put all of his best times together from all of his runs, he just barely managed to get it under 1 hour. Doing that in a live setting, despite the really potent acceleration shrines, is just so impressive.
That's absolutely crazy. I would lose it to see that today. It's such a ridiculous time.
100%.
Look at Havoc.
Taking down Piety.
Wow.
Exile already done, having to wait for her to finally be talkable.
Havoc might be
though, to get into the harvest.
That's interesting. A little bit of catch up there, because Amexel had that half zone lead pretty consistently for a while there.
Yeah.
And, like we said, that advantage was just ever so slowly bleeding away a percentage point at a time. And wow, that was like simultaneous entry into the Chevron fight here.
Will we see the difference between the single target?
Oh, that's very cool to see side by side there. And look,
wait a minute. Maybe Exile didn't want to find a Magma, or maybe he practiced so much that he knows, or he didn't need to find the cremation. Yeah. Maybe he practiced every worst case scenario. Maybe he practiced a scenario in which he actually doesn't get it. And, you know, instead of just crying about it like we are over here, you just win.
I love the idea of practicing for the adverse runs where things don't go your way, actually.
It's the way to do it.
Yeah, because those things, that happens on the day and you aren't prepared for it, then that can be a real shock. Ty23 does get through that one a little bit faster from the looks of things, but it's still too close to call, really. We have the Malagaro fight coming up now. Just started a little bit ahead for Ty23. Takes quite a bit of damage.
I mean, Havoc is catching up.
About half, but he's looking pretty confident. He's okay. He's not worried.
Havoc reaches the waypoint. He will now be fighting the mini bosses as well. You don't want to be doing any zone resetting in this one, as anytime any of the mini bosses die and then you have to re-enter a new zone, even though you have the pieces in your inventory, you can't actually access Malachi, so very important to keep everything under control here.
All right, we've got a big Malachi fight. There's been times where this has been very frightening, and this might be one of those times as Amexel eats, I believe, one of the throws there and takes a lot of damage.
It's so hard with that orb.
Yeah. Let's see how he goes, since he is so close to Ty23. We can get a little bit more of a gauge on a slightly larger boss, just how these two are shaping up against each other. And at this point, it could come down to the actual Kitava fight itself, which would be super thrilling.
So much shotgunning in Kitava, though.
It's very
Any
quick.
moment that goes by for Amexel, I'm sure he is praying.
You want to be getting into that Kitava fight before your opponent.
Yeah.
Yep.
100% so.
And these are the times to secure that little bit of a lead that they need to win this race.
And a little bit about the Malachi fight. It is something probably that's going to look easy when you're just watching the way that these players are doing it over here, but it is very challenging. The tentacles, they deal cold damage. The traps, they do fire and lightning damage, and they have a high amount of crit. There's a lot of physical damage coming up from Malachi with those little blobs that he's throwing around. Eventually, they're going to be shotgunning pretty badly once he kills the final heart. So This is a challenging fight for sure. Ty23 is done with it though.
Yeah, he gets the boss kill down.
Will he win again?
I'm Exile actually, so we've seen a bit of a
The champ
here in the positions, and Ty23
is still the
using
champ.
that lead actually to go back and buy himself a little bit of extra safety. Some of those spare transmutes are now coming in handy as he goes and crafts some extra crucial resistances for this last little push into Act 5 here. There's one little bit of zone to go here through the snow, basically just a bit of leap slamming, and then we're into Act 5, which is back-to-back boss fights and the end of the race before you know it, in a blink of an eye.
Ty23 waiting for that portal to open, and I mean, being in the lead is not always the best thing in a race. That's something that I've always admired about Havoc. You know, sometimes you're leading and you don't appreciate it enough. The stress gets to you and you end up making some mistakes. That hasn't been the case for Exile. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case for Ty23. We are entering parts of the game that he previously
look at
has
Havoc.
shown he needed more practice in.
I mean,
yeah, these later acts,
his damage is on another level compared to them.
Restart when something goes wrong and practice those early acts, and I've certainly seen players.
He probably had a plan here to catch up. Like maybe he was like, oh, I'm gonna just be behind and catch up because I have a plan for all the damage. Yeah.
Just seeing where we got level. Is that level 35 for Ty23?
That is level 35.
Just saw level 33 for I'm Exile, so that's actually a
Oh, he
substantial
picked up the
difference
skill
here.
point
We
as
talked about it
well.
earlier, but players decide on a point to stop, not the unique drop there, to stop leveling up, essentially, intentionally to like start killing less. And where you do that and how much XP you kind of get.
Havoc might
after
be
that point, can make a little bit of a difference.
setting himself up to stop killing mobs earlier.
Zone, control blocks.
If you can like save a few zones where he have to do nothing more than just jump through, it could be.
So important to know about. That's something that people found out pretty late into some of the qualifiers, and everybody started practicing the zone. It's so cool to see that they did in fact figure it out and can replicate that skip 100% of the time. Very nicely done, saving themselves a lot of time from both Ty23 and I'm Exile, who's just now getting his Eyes of Zeal. Yeah, so I mean, I mean, they're not getting acceleration shrines every time, at least.
Yeah, we seem to have run out of acceleration shrines. Sorry, that was the supply has been consumed.
I want to say I'm happy, but speed. It's like I want him to go fast, but at the same time I want the event to last. So I don't know.
That's it.
Hey guys, can you slow down? Come on.
Yeah, give us another 10 minutes, maybe. Please, it's not going to happen. Look at him go. We have a couple of very dangerous zones here. The monsters in here, we have seen upsets of people jumping into a blue pack and getting taken down.
Yeah.
Certainly at this point, you're starting to get really under-leveled. So we just saw Ty23 hit level 35. It's a level 42 zone, 7 levels under.
And if you look at their HP, you know, the I'm Exile's got 742, I believe. Ty23 has 755, very close HP, but none of those values are close to what you would have in an average player's run, I think.
No, yeah. The regular players don't usually equal the zone level, maybe a little bit over if you're doing mechanics, right? But no, that's not the case here. Ty23, 7 levels under. I'm Exile, even more, like 9 levels under.
Yeah, I'm Exile knows that he needs to cut corners. We were talking about how much he was keeping up, but the cremation is just such a big deal. He's rushing, he's charging. He still can win. It is going to be very close, but it might boil down to a mistake from Ty23, a man who has shown at the previous Exilecon he doesn't make mistakes.
No, he's very much all about securing that big win, and I think he wants to be in the lead. That's the position he wants.
Yeah.
Not to be like trying to play the catch-up, as we've seen from some of the qualifiers. But here he goes into the Innocence fight. It can be a very dangerous fight, but players have kind of got this one down pretty comfortably lately. I haven't seen too many upsets recently, so hopefully we won't see any big deals here. There is some ad phase here that they have to go through, which is relatively safe, and you'll notice that they know that they don't really have to chase out those bubbles and things like that as well.
You say that, Ziggy, but
It feels like he's lost speed now. He's not jumping and he's not leap slamming. And
as one player clicked a certain item, as I know Ty23 can't
come
hear
on.
me, so I'm not gonna say for him to click it too. You can't click it anymore, Ty. No portals. But Exile's got a portal present in case something happens.
Yeah, the little safety portal there.
Yeah, he can recover.
it is nice to have a few portals to go into that Kitava fight coming up. So hopefully all players are squared away from that by that time. But we see Havoc actually making, I feel like, a nice bit of a catch-up there as he's moving through the Chamber of Innocence himself now. So he's not far away from that Innocence fight himself.
We did just cross the 1 hour mark, so it's not going to be under 1 hour, but it will be very, very, very close.
I mean, you might think, oh yeah, they've still got to kill Innocence, and then they've got to like go to Kitava. It's like literally like it's 3 leap slams away after you finish Innocence.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're not far
I
away.
guess
Just
not
minutes away
gonna be.
from closing this out and seeing who
He
is
needs
gonna take
to.
not only top position, but second and third are also a big deal, as there is some significant prize money on the line.
Yeah.
Pressure in the last moments of the race here, guys, but woo!
I mean, we're talking a lot about Exile and Ty23, but look who's fighting Innocence as well. You know, normally we'd be full screening somebody, focusing on them a little bit more, but it is just so close with Titanicular also catching up and doing incredibly well. His management of those items, of those auras and abilities is just so supreme. He's always the player that shows his magnificence in the later parts of the race. And Ty23 will be the first person to enter.
Oh, Havoc went very low there to some projectiles from Innocence.
Havoc does have a little bit of a history with Innocence.
Yeah.
He has had some in the past that were tricky.
Oh, and
so
again,
much.
Havoc, please.
No flash! Oh, Havoc!
Oh, absolutely brutal.
Again, Havoc.
Did he have a portal up? I don't think so. He doesn't have any portals in his inventory. That's going to be a full minute and a rerun from the waypoint.
Oh, you can see the countdown on the screen now. And
this allows Titanicular to catch up and puts Havoc almost certainly out of the top 2 placements.
The battle for 3rd and 4th is going to be a big race between Havoc and Tai as this gives Tai the Killer to even it up. And Havoc is going to have to fight real hard from this. He's going to have to do some extra running there. The lack of the portal, the court in place, absolutely brutal.
Oh man, that is going to be...
His HP, 678.
I'm sure he's most certainly brewing as Ty23 and Exile are currently in the ossuary neck and neck. Oh, Ziggy, I hate to say it might just boil down to the cremation.
Yeah, like we said, that advantage that he had for so long just fled away slowly. There's almost imperceptible differences in the end. But, oh, no, I'm Exile, please, no. He almost goes for the logout, but he doesn't.
The acceleration
stride, he's just like, I'm going to hop around, I'm going to go around. Oh my god.
Ty doesn't have the acceleration, he's jumping as quickly as possible. He did get past that back. Oh my god, it's so close.
I'm Exile, how did you survive that? It was so close. What an incredible save then from... That would have broken my heart to see that. This is so close here.
Both players skipping the shrine. I didn't even get an opportunity to see what it was. I believe they both saw whatever that was, but they need to get to Kitava. We are closing in here.
I can't even tell who's going to be getting there first at this point.
Impenetrable don't need that shrine either. No,
They're like, they're exactly. Like,
Ty23 like 1 second ahead of us.
no, 1 second, like half a second. What the fuck?
I'm Exile types no chance.
What are you talking about? Every chance.
He's talking about the chance, Sarp Ziggy. He can't win. He knows he's going.
Literally no chance. No, you've got this, I'm Exile.
It's neck and neck.
I think.
So close.
I think Ty wins. I guess.
Squeeze every.
Ty23.
It's gonna.
Oh my god.
Maybe.
The animations are in sync.
Yeah, it's like it's so.
There's so much damage coming out of him.
Yeah.
Excellent dodges from Exile there.
Yeah, Ty23 has the damage.
During this phase, just a little bit ahead.
Yeah.
There. Yeah, we're seeing that slight lead.
Such a big flask difference.
Oh, the huge Ty23. No, don't die.
Exile. He waits it out. A second portal coming up for Exile.
The reigning champion.
Dodging a hand sweep.
The legend. He's definitely gonna win.
No, that's the next hard phase.
Yeah.
Ty playing it safe, making sure he's dodging
everything. Okay, maybe not.
Okay. He's okay. Exile dodging, Ty23 closing it out here. Will he safely play in? Kitava falls, I believe that's the last phase. Ty23 will take it yet again.
The legend.
Ty23, oh my god, could not be closer.
From retirement just to
Wrenching
Come back and show the noobs how it's done.
Final seconds there. Tie 23.
People try too hard. Just be good.
For Exilecon 2023. Oh my god, it rhymes.
Why do you have to try when you just can be good? Like,
And I have to say,
why try? Just be good.
Good job, I'm Exile.
He knows the position that he is in.
He's like, he's alright, he's alright. I'm Exile taking second place as well. A huge congratulations and round of applause for I'm Exile for an absolutely huge race there. That is the closest race I've ever seen.
I was hoping to Havoc for Havoc to catch up. That would have been cooler, like lore-wise.
Well done to the both of them. Absolutely huge.
Or even Tai Killer. That would have been so good.
To write no chance.
Yeah. I think that
GG instead, the team player until the very end. Huge
that freeze for Havoc like probably messed him up a little bit mentally. I think it actually did.
Being stacked up against him. Great performance from both of our players. And as I
But how do you
said,
practice that?
As we're still going for that third
Yeah, let's
and
see the
fourth
battle
place.
for third and fourth place.
It is fairly close.
I couldn't even look at the top half of the screen during that.
There was way too
So
much
I don't know
going
what's
on.
going. We're gonna fight.
I think Havoc didn't have a portal, and I don't think he had waypoints. I think he had to rerun a significant portion of the game. Tai Killer, allowing Tai Killer to catch up and get onto the rooftop as the first player. It is fairly close.
Yeah.
No pressure, Tai Killer. He did have that little bit of an unfortunate rip in his qualifier that he ended up winning. He could afford it, but will he be able to afford it in this race? Oh, Havoc!
Extra physical.
That's just not fair.
That is not fair.
Oh.
This event is straight up rigged.
Havoc with the the death at Innocence earlier is a huge upset. The players take a lot of risks sometimes in skipping certain waypoints and things like that, and there are certain deaths that can just be brutal if that happens. You have to run so many zones to catch back up if you don't have those checkpoints. But let's see Tai Killer over the finish line here as he secures his third place in the Katava kill. And what a race for all of our racers here. Supremely entertained. I have been, and
You're calling it?
Have you all been? Oh yeah, I mean.
Wait a minute.
It's still anyone's game, but I'm just saying that I've been supremely entertained, and I want to know, have all of you enjoyed this race at home?
Yeah.
And in the audience as well. We're going to move over just a moment here as we see Tai Killer through the end of the race. All right, folks, we are securing and wrapping things up here. Huge congratulations once again to Tai 23, I'm Exile, and Tai Killer, who will be taking third place there, and Havoc. Thank you very much.
I don't like that they don't do this. Tai Killer needs to kill him. He hasn't. It's not over. You can't call it before it's over. That's bullshit. That's just bad sportsmanship. Like, people have practiced for months, and you can't do this to them. It's just really bad, Ziggy.
We'll be dodging those little bit of degeneration on the ground. He's got enough HP.
Really
That being said, he will be
disrespectful, in my opinion.
Fighting Kitava right now for the fourth place.
He locks it in and secures his third place. Congratulations to Tai.
No, it's fine.
So, excellent race from everyone, and a huge round of applause for all of our racers today. And thank you to them for the entertainment. Very cool stuff. Supremely entertaining race. All right, folks. I believe in just a moment we'll be heading over to the stage as we give out prizes. But for now, let's just have a little bit of a recap of what we've seen today, Rise. How was that race, right? Oh
that was a lot more RNG than I expected. If I'm being real, typically in Path of Exile races nowadays anyway, it does more so boil down to how much management there is when it comes to that RNG. But in this one in particular, there wasn't a whole lot of Einhar action, which I'm a little bit disappointed by. But at the end of the day, we can only do so much when it comes to the actual RNG of those item drops.
We had a crazy amount of shrines, acceleration.
The shrines were nuts, but they all get them.
Yeah,
unless there's
everyone gets
Einhards, everybody gets them.
No one seemed to miss anything major in terms of the shrines, and also very impressed by all of the races' zone reads. We had very few incidents of people making any mistakes there.
I mean, even the situation
had that.
Yeah, even the situation that Titan Killer found himself in that ancient pyramid.
Tiny.
Yeah, but that wasn't even his fault, you know. Sometimes that happens. In that layout in particular, the first platform of that zone is actually just RNG. In the next ones, it's always a cross. In the first one, it is RNG, so can't even blame him for that one whatsoever.
Yeah, we had I'mExile leading the pack for such a long time, and we talked about Templar being such a consistent class to race, but there's just that one thing, just trying to get that Chancellor fusing orb, and it nearly always happens, but the players do plan some, you know, to play along without it, potentially, if it doesn't come up, but we did see a little bit of just a little bit less damage for I'mExile, and he slowly lost that lead. And then that was so close at the finish, Rise.
I do have to officially say it, though. Exile might have gotten second, but he might have won in my heart. You know, the GG at the end, slightly heartbreaking, but such a well-mannered individual. A bright future ahead of him.
Absolutely, for all of our races, indeed. I think the most heart-wrenching moment for me, though, was Havoc's death to Innocence. Just such a huge upset. He had such an incredible race.
Most sad thing was Havoc's logout and freeze. That was harsh. That was just fucked up.
You could tell, you could see the practice coming through in all of their play, but in particular I was just like marveling at the beauty of the Path of Exile gameplay.
Yeah, I think everybody had a really good story. I mean, Ty23 has got to be feeling pretty good about that.
Back-to-back Exilecon wins, right? Like, coming out of retirement to defend the belt.
Yeah.
That's a big story, that is. That's a big story. All right, folks, we're just about ready to head over to the stage. It's been a pleasure wrapping up another Exilecon for you. I am Ziggy D, and this is Rise QT. Thanks so much for casting with me, mate.
Thank you so much, Ziggy. What a blast.
So
Hope
fun.
you guys.
Thank you all very much. We'll see you over on the stage.
Well, that was an amazing race. We were backstage there, just on the edge of our seats watching. It was kind of two races in one. We just had the best time. And congratulations, all of you. Okay, so in fourth place, winning $1,000. Thank you very much, Havoc. Thanks for competing. Sorry about the result. And in third place, winning $2,500 US, Tai Gilla. Congratulations, man. And in second place, so close, winning $5,000. Great work, I'mExile. I'd like to ask Jonathan on stage with the trophy. So first place winning $10,000 US, and the second of his first place titles and the trophy, Ty23. Great work, man.
That's a nice, simple trophy.
Well, that wraps up Exilecon 2023. We've had an absolute blast. Everyone enjoyed it. I hope you did as well. If you've been watching online all weekend, thanks so much for joining us. I'm sorry you couldn't be here. And if you've been here in person the whole time, that's amazing. I'd like to ask you to get a few hours of rest, maybe some dinner, and we'll join you for the after party at 8 p.m. at the venue. And if you weren't able to make it out to New Zealand, we will be at Gamescom and PAX West over the coming weeks, as we've mentioned. So we look forward to seeing you at some stage in person. Thanks very much for a great event.
Yeah, what is there to say? I mean, PoE2. GG. Made the right decision to keep them separated. What else? I mean, PoE1 still best action RPG you can play. And I'm very excited to play a Singer Barb in PoE. That's gonna be happening 100%. So, yeah. I don't think there's too much to add. Type 23, monster of a gamer. Oh. And yeah. Have a good one. I'm ending the stream now. I need to do stuff. Bye-bye.